live betting reaction to all of the night's action. You're tuned in to VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Patrick Meagher, Dustin Swedelson, VSiN Live.
All right, it is VSiN Live with the big guy. I'm Patrick Meagher as we welcome you in. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. Maybe a humbling show today as the Celtics have been humbled. Have I been humbled when it comes to the horse racing? We will find out. Of course, we've got Isaiah in New York City. We've got Isaiah in Las Vegas running YouTube, youtube.com/VSiN Live. Get involved with the chat. We'd like to see you there as we say hi. Now, let me just set up quickly, big guy, what's happening as we start the program. Again, the content is delivered to us every day around this time of the year. Let's get to July and see how that goes if we're still employed. That's a key. Warriors and Timberwolves coming up at 5:30. So we don't have anything early as far as the NBA is concerned. We do have an early game. I was shocked to see the number on the Caps at home today hosting Carolina, plus 150. Look, the bottom line is the Hurricanes are going to win this series, but they're not a good road team, and the Capitals have been great at home all year, first in the East. We know that. And they couldn't have been worse offensively than they were 2 nights ago in game one, the Capitals, and they lost in overtime. So my assumption is a tremendous spot for the Capitals tonight. Let's see if they bounce back at a plus price at home. The Oilers and Golden Knights, the Oilers up 1-0. The feel amongst the people we respect, I should say, is that the Oilers are going to win that series as the goaltending and overall vibe of the Golden Knights not great right now. All right, let's see if the vibe's great with the big guys. We say hi for the first time.
I'm glad you mentioned the Capitals-Hurricanes game. I was kind of shocked by this. Yesterday when we left the show, it was Hurricanes minus 135, Capitals plus 115. Getting things ready for the program today, noticed a big move. Carolina minus 170, Washington plus 142. You mentioned it. Caps aren't going to win the series, but if they're going to win a game, it's going to be this one. This is the spot to win. That is a big fat number next to Ovechkin and company. Why don't we take that?
Totally agree. A sweet spot for the Caps. We are going to bet that, and that is just about to get underway. Big guy, as we start our 3-hour sojourn here on Mad Dog Sports Radio. I can't say anything anybody else hasn't said about the postseason thus far in the NBA. Like, it's almost like I'm stammering because what can you say? Home ice hasn't mattered in hockey. Home wood literally doesn't matter at all when it comes to hoops. And last night, Monday night was one thing for your Knicks. A 20-point comeback, an anomaly at Boston, defending champs. They shot a bunch of threes. That's their system. They didn't make any. They shot 60. Last night was different. They tried to retool. The Celtics tried to adjust. They took 20 less threes, yet they still couldn't hit them. And what I saw, I don't know if you saw the same thing. We were doing the show live while it was unfolding. It was crazy with the Knicks taking a 2-0 series lead headed back to MSG. What I saw was a Celtic team that was in their heads. And regardless of vocation, if you're in your head, you're not going to perform. And that shows you with Tatum, who is a tremendous basketball player, but he couldn't dribble on the last possession. And what I saw from Tatum was a guy that had a three-point look. In his mind, he started overthinking, we're supposed to be going to the 10, started to drive, lost the ball. Bridges with the second straight game gets the big takeaway. I mean, that really is one of the crazier turn of events we're going to see over a three-day span in a long time.
Yeah, I'm still trying to make sense of it, man. As a Knicks fan, just because I had really no faith coming into this series, I wanted to believe. I thought the moves in the offseason made sense for this moment, right? All these moves they made, Anunoby a year ago, Bridges coming in this past offseason, everything in mind with matching up with the Celtics defensively, but it just didn't work. We didn't have ocular proof that what the Knicks did was good enough to beat Boston. The Celtics own them in the regular season, and the way these games have played out, I think we've seen something's very clear, and it's that the Knicks are not as talented as the Celtics. However, they have all the other attributes you're looking for from a championship team. It's all the immeasurables. It's the leadership. It's the coaching. It's the chemistry. It's the mentality.
Whoa,
That's
whoa, whoa,
where their
whoa,
edges are.
coaching. You're giving Tibbs credit now?
He's coaching circles around Missoula.
Missoula's a donk.
Okay, he's a donk with a ring, though.
Yeah,
got one.
No, factually, he does have a ring. You're 100% right. But you literally have been trying to fire Tibbs consistently, perpetually.
Because the regular season went horribly. And you know what we're learning right now in the playoffs? The regular season doesn't matter. The Cavaliers, the 1 seed, the Celtics, the 2 seed, they're both down 0-2. Why? They are so dependent on analytics. Analytics work over a long sample size of an 82-game season. In these series, it's a bit different, and it's a gut check, and it's about who can come up big when it matters the most. Jalen Brunson routinely comes up big. Jason Tatum, 18 points per game, 6 total fourth quarter points through 2 games this series, routinely comes up short.
Yeah, but last night we did get a reminder that it is still the NBA, and pump your brakes on it being fantastic because the Nuggets put in quite a performance at Oklahoma City. Look, we never thought the Nuggets were going to win the series, but we did think they could cut it below 43 in a single game. That was an issue, and that continues to be an issue. And by the way, I think that what we saw last night in Oklahoma City, we're probably going to see tonight in Minnesota. Anybody thinking, and I mean this, anybody thinking that Golden State without Steph is going to be able to keep it close against Minnesota, that was a boost. It's almost like I talked about this with Shine earlier today. In the gambling world, when there's an interim head coach, the first game that coach coaches, it's just human psychology. It's human emotion that there's going to be a boost. Then things settle down as the dopamine starts to wear off. When Steph Curry goes down and Draymond Green shooting the ball better than he has since Michigan State, the rest of the team, including a guy that was really great at lacrosse, is going to step up in Steph's absence. Now you got a couple of days to realize one of the top 12 players of all time is not going to be out there, who's the highest usage guy on the planet, meaning he just has the ball all the time. He has to have the ball all the time. And you're going to rely on Jimmy Butler and Draymond Green. Tonight is easily going to be a double-digit win for Minnesota.
We already laid 4 in the first quarter with Minnesota. We laid 6.5 in the first half. Boston covered the first quarter and first half, ended up losing the third quarter last night. Oklahoma City obviously covered the first quarter and first half. It is a fantastic bounce back spot for a Minnesota team that had its superstar called out by the head coach. Chris Finch came out and literally said, Anthony Edwards, you are our best player. I shouldn't need to motivate you. I think you're going to have a locked-in Anthony Edwards, and everyone else is just going to follow his lead. They're going to dominate Golden State tonight.
Yep, totally agree. So that is the NBA. I mean, the big story, though, is coming out of it is the Knicks. And like you just said, the Knicks aren't as talented as the Boston Celtics. I don't know that. I know they're shorter.
Okay.
I know as far I'm just pushing back just a little bit just to have the conversation. I know that the Knicks may not go as deep as the Celtics, but if you start removing, and there's a huge question mark around Kristaps Porzingis because of that illness, if you were to say that he is going to be 50-50, well, then the Knicks are just as or maybe more talented than the Boston Celtics, just on paper.
No, you're right, because let's peel it back a little bit. This will go back to a conversation we've probably had, 6-7 years now since they've entered the league. The talent evaluation on Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown is the key to the whole discussion. It's where do you fall on them? Over the course of time, their numbers always look good. But you've been on this for a while that they just
don't like either player.
Wanting more. You just can't trust them when it matters the most. And by the way, if we're going to be fair, and look, they won the title last year. You don't take it away from them, but we can poke holes with the path that got them there. They beat a Heat team without Butler. They beat a Cavs team without Donovan Mitchell. They faced the Pacers with an injured Halliburton and took on Dallas in the finals. That's awesome. They've made 6 of the last 8 conference finals, and they've won just 1 ring. This is a core that has underachieved for the most part since joining the NBA. It's simple as that. So if we're going to go top 2 players on each team, this is where I think you may be right. If it's Brown and Tatum versus Brunson and Cat, who you got?
Well, I got Brunson 1.
Of course.
Okay. I got Brunson beyond Tatum, beyond Brown. Brown's not even in the conversation if you're talking about Brunson. It comes down to Tatum or Brunson in a big spot. Now, this is going to piss off people in Boston. We just won a championship last year. Totally understand. I'm literally just telling you what I feel. And I think that Tatum and Brown are tremendous basketball players. I don't put them in the class of, obviously, a Jokic. I don't put them in the class of a Steph Curry, a LeBron, a Luka. They have a great team. Brad Stevens has done a great job building that team. And last year, the three-point shooting won them a championship. Three-point shooting comes with variance. In the betting parlance, we call it variance. It's going to go up, it's going to go down. And if you have a cold streak of three-point shooting like they have, 25 of 100 through 2 games, if that continues through a postseason run, Dustin, you're obviously not going to advance. And last year, it worked. This year, the script and the analytics so far through 2 games have struggled. The team right now that I respect more and like more are the Knicks.
And think about it from a leadership perspective. Let's take the basketball part out of it with Tatum and Brunson, because a lot of times these teams, they take on the identity of their leader, of their best player. And if you're Tatum, what happens with Jason Tatum? The conversation is always around defending him. It's always about the legacy and the respect that he doesn't get from his peers or in the league or from the critics in the media. And he's a guy who they just kept adding help to. He always needed more help. He was never going to get there on his own. They said he has to have Drew Holiday. He has to have Kristaps Porzingis. In reality, Derek White was like the best addition they ever could have made. But it was constantly add more, add more, add more. With Jalen Brunson, he got help, but it wasn't to the level that the Celtics were going through to bring on to help Jason Tatum. And on the other end, you don't hear much out of Jalen Brunson. It's just a guy where the team follows his attitude, his mindset, his approach. And I think that is the biggest difference between these two teams, is that one leader, there's a lot of talking. And the other leader, he's quiet and he's a killer. And that's Jalen Brunson.
Yeah, I know. It's well put. You said Karl Anthony Towns. I think I'd probably rather have Josh Hart over Jaylen Brown.
Fair. I mean,
look,
you know me. I love
this. Is all just debate. All right. So nobody get pissed in Boston. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888 623 3646. This is what makes sports talk fun. I just don't think Tatum and Brown are as good as the perception. I don't. I think Brunson's better than the perception. I think Hart is better than the perception. I think you kill Bridges. You do have length at a guard, and those 2 plays he's made the last 2 games are because of his length. Anunoby is a tremendous perimeter defender and can get buckets when you need him to. This is a good team.
No, and Bridges, look, they gave up a lot of picks, and there's been a lot of criticism about it. But that guy is showing what he's capable of being when you need him. I think he had 14 points in the 4th quarter last night. Obviously, the 2 big key defensive plays to finish not 1 but 2 games in this comeback. He has absolutely proved his worth. The big difference, though, what always will come back to me with Tatum and Brown versus whoever you want to compare to Brunson for the Knicks, is at the end of the game, one team is scared of the big moment and the other has a guy who routinely just comes up and steps up, and that's Brunson. Always finds a way to make a play when it matters at the end of the game, and Jason Tatum's a guy who looked terrified dribbling the ball, looking for a spot on the floor that everyone knew he was going to, and that's why the Knicks were able to defend it.
Yeah, Brunson's on another level. I would say this about Cat. I killed Cat last week. I don't care about Cat giving offense. I only care about rebounds. When they got rid of Hartenstein and brought in Cat, they got rid of Randall, who's kind of a Swiss Army knife. When I think about Cat, all I want is crashing the boards, toughness, and defend. He's one of the more natural scorers at his size in the history of the league. He's always going to be able to get points. That's not what I care about when it comes to Karl Anthony Towns.
Yeah, and Porzingis not being available much in this series, I think is helping Cat thrive, because Porzingis' existence, because he stands on the perimeter, takes away exactly what you're saying. He's going to pull Cat away from the basket when he's going to have to defend him out there, and that's one less guy to crash the boards for the Knicks. With Porzingis not playing as many minutes as expected, that's allowing Cat to go down in the block and pick up a few more rebounds, which has been massive for the Knicks so far.
Yeah, Porzingis is the X factor, is what you're saying. I mean, he really, last year and this year, he was banged up last year as well. When he played, they were so much better. He is the X factor. I actually trust, I wouldn't say Porzingis in a big spot over Tatum.
Derek
Tatum
White.
I'm probably being a little hard on Tatum. But you saw it. You could see that they were in their heads last night. And that is a bad place to be when, like, what do we talk about? Getting in the rhythm or in the zone? That is not what the Boston Celtics feel like right now.
Yeah, I don't know if you're being hard on them. I think you've been hard on him in the past, but I think you're being proven right in this moment. Like in the past, you've really crushed Jason Tatum. And I was like, man, he really thinks he's not special. And I think in this moment, you're being vindicated. He's proving all of your points right now. This is a guy that is unreliable in clutch time. He is not making the plays when it matters. He's not stepping up in the fourth quarter when his team needs him. He is the best player on the floor, supposedly. And he's got 18 points per game in this series so far. And they were at home. That just can't happen. You've got to be the one carrying the load, and everyone else is able to pick up the rest.
Yeah, perception, reality. Pretending like Tatum isn't a great player is foolish. So
Yeah,
I'm
no,
not
he's very
doing
good.
that.
He's very good.
He's very, 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 very Brown conversation you can have. I don't even view him as I'd take Derek White.
I love Derek White.
I take Derek freaking White.
Derek White's a dog. Derek White is a dog. Jaylen Brown is very up and down. He is one moment you're going, oh, I understand the hype. And then like the very next game, he completely just disappears. He just backs off and he's not aggressive.
It's just a feel. That's all. And they've got a championship. They shoved it. Now, last year we said the same thing. They can't win a championship. They shoved it in our face.
Yep.
Again, you said it at the beginning. The metrics, the data, they're being driven by it. If they go cold from three, they can't win. The Knicks are the difference. The Knicks are the opposite, I should say, where it is a little bit old school. People bitch about we want old school. Yeah, they'll shoot threes, but it's kind of an old school team, and Hart is the glue that makes them that old school team.
Yeah, I mean, if you're going to assess the Knicks right now, I want you to tell me what they're great at. Just tell me what they're great at. Because
giving the ball to Brunson,
they're a good shooting team. They're not amazing. They're not real. They weren't in the regular season a good defensive team, but player for player, they are a good defensive team. They have good defensive players,
especially on the wing.
Yeah, they're good at a lot of things. They're not really great at anything. But you know what they're good at? When it matters, they make plays. They just make things happen. And the opposite's happening for Boston. And I think this stubbornness to keep hoisting the threes, and I understand having a philosophy, going by your numbers, and it getting to you to a certain point. But when that stops working, you got to adjust. You have to have a plan B. You can't just say, well, this is who we are and this is what we do, when there are other ways to play the game.
I think even Boston Celtic fans would agree that last night had nothing to do with basketball and had everything to do with mental.
Yeah. Yep.
You can't give up a 20-point lead at home for the second straight game in the second half and say, well, they just played better than we did. No, that's not what happened. They had a million open looks. They were missing everything. And that last drive by Tatum, you and I were talking about it on the air. He forgot how to dribble.
He
lost his dribble.
He was terrified of the moment. But ultimately, you know what the biggest win this is for? Friendship. Because the Knicks are friends. And that's what matters here. You have a cohesive unit that is willing to hold each other accountable whenever the Celtics talk. I don't know why. I feel like it's not genuine when they defend each other. It's all very odd. And I think for the Knicks, you have a player in Jalen Brunson and Josh Hart that are so close friends. When one screws up, the other one will walk up to him and be like, are you an idiot? What's wrong with you?
No, I agree.
And I think that helps in the long run.
The Tatum-Brown relationship has always felt forced.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree. Now they have a championship. Let me keep repeating myself.
No, totally fair.
So anything that I'm saying, of course, I know I sound idiotic. We're talking about today. And by the way, I'm one of the ones, not patting myself on the back, but I did say I thought the Knicks were built to win a championship.
You did. You pulled me back in. I was out. As a Knicks fan, I had stopped believing. I really didn't think they'd put it together. But again, I'll come back to this over and over. Some teams are built for 82. Some are built to go through this stretch run in the playoffs. The Knicks are better built for the postseason than they are the regular season, whereas the Celtics are made for the regular season.
Yeah, I think that's the best point. Like, and it's almost like what we're seeing with the Cavs right now. Well, you can't really kill the Cavs.
Injuries.
You know, to be honest with you, I think the only team that is just legitimately through and through, both regular and post, I think we're going to find out it's Oklahoma City. They're so good, it's insane. They're so good. I know you don't want to buy in.
I know.
So good, it's insane. Last night, they won by close to 50 for fun.
Yeah, look, I'm
who in the
starting
East
to
is okay? Who in the East is going to be?
No one. No, honestly, I'm willing to admit
I think
that.
they might be all. I think there might be like great.
But can we also
Oklahoma
admit
City.
the Denver Nuggets look like they're going to pass out any moment now? Like that looked like a team that needed IVs and gas, oxygen masks on the bench. They look like they have nothing left. All the shots were falling short right out of the beginning of the game.
Well, I think they stink. Which actually says more about the Clippers.
True.
Kawhi's legacy takes a hit. Ty Lue as a coach, he takes a hit. Harden never had a legacy except aside from being a failure. So I think that there is something to that. Denver, Brown's a nice, his name's not Braun, people. His name is Brown.
Brown.
Rown. Prove to me you haven't watched a game. It's Brown. That's it. His name is Christian Brown. Murray is past his prime. Gordon's a nice player in that.
Murray's not special. Murray's not.
No.
That's all.
And obviously, Gordon good in the system, wasn't good in Orlando. And Porter is just a guy. That's their team. That is the team.
And no depth, no help, nothing off the bench. Desperation with Russell Westbrook, who you'd prefer to be your 8th best player, not your 5th or 6th best player. No, there's a lot of issues with Denver. But if I'm going to look at the East right now, Cleveland banged up. Indiana is I think Indiana's a fun team. It's not a special team. It's not like a great team.
It's just a good team on paper. Indiana's a good team. Like, hey, Matherin's good. Tyrese is good. Our big is good. Like everything, like the equation looks good on paper.
Yeah, Indiana and Cleveland, I think those GMs should be acknowledged for that is how you build a small market professional NBA team at a place where it's not a destination, where players don't want to go to. The way they've drafted, never really having high picks in the draft for the most part over the last few years, and having depth on the roster and very serviceable, good guys that they've developed, and they've done a great job, but neither are special. The question is for me, who can give Oklahoma City the toughest series in the finals right now? Because it doesn't look like it may be Boston. The Knicks are interesting, but they are not in the class of Oklahoma City. Indiana has a ton of offense. They don't play a ton of defense, but they are on an absolute heater right now. Who's the toughest challenge for Oklahoma City out of the East?
Cleveland. Healthy.
Yeah, if they're 100%.
Healthy. Yeah, I agree. I don't think Cleveland's out of it. By the way, when we were talking about the series price, I'm coming to your calls. When we were talking about the series price, I said Boston $130. I think it has adjusted. Boston's still the favorite to beat the Knicks in the series.
Well, they're now minus 120. Knicks are even money. When we got off the air last night, it was the other way around. It was the Knicks that were laying a number, I believe 130, and Boston was plus about $1.20. So that means people just started.
Bettors went in unloaded on the Celtics.
And I think it makes sense because I went back and looked. Boston hasn't lost in Madison Square Garden since February 27th, 2023. They have won 4 straight in New York at MSG. That's part of it. They're not. And by the way, let's remember, the Knicks did not look good at home against your Pistons last series.
No, but I said this to Adam. I believe they're going to be freer against Boston as dogs than they would have been against a young Pistons team that they were a $5 favorite to beat. I think hosting Boston is going to be the freest you've ever seen the Knicks.
You know what? There's something to that, and I'd add that for the Pistons, because they were playing with house money and they were kind of too young and too inexperienced to know how big it was to go into Madison Square Garden. That's why they were able to win one there.
Yeah.
I think they didn't realize how big it was for Boston, where they're in their head right now. Going to Madison Square Garden on a Saturday afternoon, that could be the worst thing for their mental at this point in time.
By the way, if Steph doesn't play, Minnesota in 5. Give me an
easy. That's easy.
that Golden State team stinks.
You could just lay 190 right now with the Timberwolves in the series, plus 160 on the Warriors.
That's wild.
But there's no shot. There is no shot Golden State wins tonight.
Let's start with our buddy Al in White Plains. Hi, Al.
Great to speak to you, fellas. Well, first of all, if Minnesota, after what they did to my club, should lose to this team without Steph, where all they've got is multicolored hair Jimmy Buckets and goofy hair, second coming of Gonzo. I don't even know how to pronounce that kid's name. All right. If they don't dispose of them in short shrift, that will be a major embarrassment for Minnesota.
Yes.
That's number one. He's already calling out his best player. Curious to see how that winds up. I agree with you on Cleveland if they can get healthy, but that is huge right now because without Garland, they're wearing down the end of these games, especially the last one. So they need to get a couple of these guys back. And I'm not pouring any, and as a lifelong Laker fan, how much I despise the Celtics. I've told you before. I mean, when it comes to the Celtics, the only team I could ever root for them against would be the Russians. And that's it. But I like Tatum a lot. The Lakers not drafting him is the worst mistake they've ever made in the draft, probably in, God knows, at least a quarter of a century. And I like Brown. They're good guys. And I think you guys are selling Brown short. He was the MVP of the playoffs last year. He's a terrific player. But he's not healthy. Did you notice down the end of the game last night when Brown he didn't elevate nearly as much as we're used to seeing him get up in the air when he's down in the paint and driving and finishing with ferocity. I think that knee is bothering him. I think the minutes are hurting him. Their depth has taken a hit without Porzingis and whatever's the matter with him, and with Cornette and Pritchard not nearly as effective off the bench, and Hauser out. So all of a sudden, the minutes police are not a problem for the Knicks. They're the ones who are fresher down the stretch because they're used to it, and they're stronger, and they're longer. They have more size at various spots, and I have no idea what's going to happen on Saturday. They could come out, and the Celtics could just bury them with 3 after 3 after 3 after 3. I don't think that's going to happen. What the Knicks have got to do is, as Coach Brown would say, get the ball in the painted area. Without Porzingis, they're small. Al Horford, come on. I mean, he's older than I am, and that's old. I mean, he looked every month of it last night. His legs are shot. He looks small in the middle. They need to attack the paint, get to the line, and you notice what else the Celtics weren't doing last night? They're not getting to the foul line. Jason Tatum's not shooting 15 free throws. And a lot of that's got to do is when they go in, there's size there, and there's nobody to negate both the size of Towns and Robinson without Porzingis to take him away from the basket. Suddenly, the Knicks are a bad matchup when it was just the opposite all year long. Suddenly, the Knicks are a bad matchup for the Celtics as they currently exist with their lack of health and lack of depth. And I will leave you with this. Tibbs gets all this criticism. So far, in these games down the stretch against, a coach of the year candidate who did a great job and the championship young stud, he have coached the drawers off of both of these guys down the stretch of these games.
Good job, Al. Couple things. One, Horford at this point in his career is a glorified guard. He lives on the perimeter. So you're 100% right. The size of Cat and the size of Robinson is a key for the Knicks. The reason I said Cleveland, let's be clear about Cleveland on paper v. OKC. You've got two very legitimate big men.
Yep.
And if healthy, Mobley and Allen. You've got a go-to number one, easy, in Mitchell. If Garland is there in the backcourt, that is not a good, that's a great backcourt. And then you have the X factor in Strus. That's the reason out of the East, I believe that to be the team that can in some way force Oklahoma City into something. I'm telling you right now, I'm begging you to come to this side. Oklahoma City is great. They're great.
I know that I might be wrong here. I might have maybe put my foot in my mouth declaring someone could knock them off. But I will say this. the case you're making for Cleveland is the one, because I'll also add Ty Jerome off the bench. That is offense. That's points that Oklahoma City doesn't get when that second unit's in from their side of things. Also, DeAndre Hunter, who's just a versatile weapon, and he's kind of deployed perfectly for Cleveland because he's not a main guy, but he gets the ball enough when he needs to offensively, but he's really there for defense. But the two bigs are the key. If you're going to beat Oklahoma City, because you're going to be physical with them in the paint, where they just have Hartenstein and they don't have a lot of depth, because Holmgren's tall, but he's not big. He also wants to shoot more. He's not really a banger.
But he's a good shot blocker. He's a good roamer. They have size everywhere, big guy. They have size on the perimeter. They're built well. That's all I can say.
I am realizing that I am facing a battle that I am losing, but I'm not going to go down swinging. Someone's knocking off the thunder.
That's what we love about you. We like the pride that never goes away. And the Celtics could show some of that. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888 623 3646. A good conversation to start about the playoffs. Look, they've been great. The second round has been great. Last night, you saw it coming with Denver, just exhausted. Now they're complaining about the officials. When a team starts to complain about the officials, turn out the lights, it's over. And by the way, you mentioned Westbrook. Westbrook will never be on a team that wins a championship.
No.
It's an impossibility. Not a winning player.
Look at every stop along the way since Oklahoma City. It has not worked out well for any organization.
Oh, by the way, I wrote it down in my notes last night while watching that. The two worst humans in the NBA, Draymond Green and Russ Westbrook. They try to hurt people. I don't know if you saw the punch to the head last night from Russ. He is a person that genuinely tries to hurt others.
I also feel like he does play the victim card a lot of times too when he's the aggressor. I feel like he doesn't, I don't know, he's not grasping what he's doing and that everyone can see it.
It's the same as Draymond with the kicks to the head and the balls and everything that he does.
At some point, you're a bad person.
It's so intentional. It's so intentional. It's just uncouth. 888 Mad Dog 6, 888 623 3646. So I guess the question is, who can beat OKC? The Knicks are on a heater. Can Cleveland come back? You tell us. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
All right, VSiN is on SiriusXM channel 158. You get 24/7 sports betting coverage on channel 158 and on the SiriusXM app. Exclusive offer for you right now. Go to vsin.com/subscribe. Use that promo code SIRIUS to get everything we offer. Again, even if you just signed up for $19, which is what it is through August 1st, Samich won you, what, 1,600 plus in the Kentucky Derby. That would have paid for that and a lot more. You get the daily email with the best bets, exclusive betting splits, plus our guides. Go to vsin.com/subscribe. Promo code SIRIUS. We are scoreless in DC with 5:10 to play. Carolina at Washington, 0-0. Both myself, Patrick Meagher, Dustin Swedelson are on the Caps here as we get back to the calls here on the NBA, which has been, like you said it's been tremendous. Like, there really is, the theater has been awesome. What I wrote down in my notes is, like, literally home wood and home ice has mattered. Not Dallas won last night in Winnipeg. Home wood and home ice has mattered not at all in round 2 of the postseason.
Yeah, I think it's all you can ever ask for is for underdogs, for teams on the road to have a chance, especially early in these series. Now, look, we're not going to act like the NBA doesn't have major issues with the regular season. Like, the regular season's unwatchable. I mean, There's no point in paying attention. And then the first round of the playoffs, for the most part, we had a bunch of bad series. We had a couple good ones. But now, as the cream rises to the top, we're getting some really good basketball.
Yeah, it's been fun. Let's get back to the calls. Appreciate your patience. 888-623-3646. And Chris in Tampa has been patient. We say hi, Chris.
How are you, Patrick, Dustin?
Good, buddy. What's going on?
So, let's talk about the Boston series. Obviously, it's intriguing. I think that Boston is still favored in the series. I think that's just reflective of the public money over the last 24 hours. I think that. Well, what I'm getting at is, I think that if like Amazon Web Services were to break down this series, I would think that the Knicks probably have at least a 6-5 chance to come out of this. But here's what I kind of wanted to ask you about, Patrick, because you kind of addressed this a little bit, specifically regarding Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, I'm worried that Game 3, he's going to spend, and this is, exactly opposite of what you said, and I hope that you're correct, that he's going to spend all Game 3 on the perimeter, trying to shoot on the perimeter, trying to not get into foul trouble. And, the minute the Knicks, and this is the other part I wanted to kind of ask about. I think it's a great bet, and this is why I would put money on the Celtics for the series, because I think at least going into Game 3, it's a great bet to put money on the Celtics. Maybe during live betting, find your way to bet on the Knicks. During the game, let's say you figure out a way to kind of take advantage of that arbitrage. But just getting back to Karl Anthony Towns, I mean, do you expect him to play big on Saturday? I'm afraid that he's going to play exactly the opposite.
No, Chris, it's a great call. Listen, I mean this. I know it sounds like hyperbolic. If I looked up and I'm a Knicks fan and I saw 5 points, 18 boards, and 7 assists and didn't foul out, as opposed to 30 points, 7 boards, and whatever, and got in foul trouble, please understand what I'm saying. You just said it, Chris. His nature is to be a guard. They need him to be a big. That's it. Karl Anthony Towns has to comport himself as a big. If he does, the Knicks can win a title or push Oklahoma City to 6.
And without Porzingis, the Celtics do lack size. And you go back and look, and the combination of double bigs in the lineup, Mitchell Robinson and Karl Anthony Towns, a plus 14.3 net rating in the postseason. That is third best so far in the playoffs, behind Şengün and Adams with Houston, Turner and Siakam with Indiana, and then it's Robinson and Towns number 3. That dual big lineup is an issue for Boston because they're not getting the minutes they're used to getting out of Porzingis.
Karl Anthony Towns needs to, whatever the little child in him is telling him that he wants to be a point guard, he, he wants to be Steph Curry. He needs to not be that and do what he can do, which he's shown over the last 2 games. He can grab rebounds, he can stay out of foul trouble, he can stay on the court. You just need his size, his rebounding, and he's a good playmaker. But Anunoby can give you 25. Bridges can give you 25. Brunson will give you 30. Hart can give you 17. You don't need his scoring.
No, what you especially don't need is when the ball is across half court and they're in a half court offense and there's still 16, 15 seconds on the shot clock. You don't need him hoisting threes.
Nah,
from the
it's ridiculous. It's so stupid. And
that's
where
the
I'd
issue
sit
in
him.
his game. Yeah, that's the issue in his game. 100%.
And that's Tibbs. Tibbs coaching will coach that out of him, and you can move on. Like, I have no problem if somebody wants to bet Boston at this point, because if the variance corrects itself and they start hitting those threes, obviously they can win it. They are on a script. So if you like artificial intelligence, you like the Celtics. If you like what you grew up with, you like the Knicks right now. That's pretty apparent to me. Let's go Chris in Jersey talking Knicks here, VSiN Live. Hi, Chris.
Patrick, Dustin, how are you, gentlemen?
Chris, what's up, buddy?
Remember, I'm the guy who told you the Peruvian women. Don't forget.
Yes, sir. I remember that very, very astutely.
I know. Colombia is all the rage. A couple hours from New York, but Peru, south of the border. Anyway,
Go.
full transparency. 48 years old. My birthday was a few weeks back. I'm a Knicks fan forever. Starks, Oakley, Mason, Patrick, Derek Harper. McDaniel, all those guys. I'm loving what I'm seeing. I'm like a kid again, no doubt about it. OKC, absolutely, you're right. Best team in the league, amazing. I'm going to talk like a fan. I'm going to try to be controlled here. The Knicks, if they made it to the NBA Finals against OKC, I get with the home court this year. But the Garden, after 30 years of nothing in the finals, is a place not like any other home court that OKC will ever see. And I would bet the Knicks would win every game in the Garden, and they would get to a 7-game series even on the road, because that's the one team this year on their home court that they competed with up until the fourth quarter before the end of the year, before the end of 2024, and they kind of let it go the last 5 minutes, lost by like 7 or 8 or something. So, gentlemen, I'm excited. Here's also other part too. Remember last year when they played the Sixers and the entire media was saying the best series of the first round was the Knicks-Sixers. What did they say this year? Best series of the first round, Knicks-Pistons.
Yeah.
Because the Knicks do something that the rest of the NBA doesn't. They are not your play well every game. They're not flashy with the ball. They're not shooting the lights out. They play basketball. And it's exciting, and it's fantastic. And that's why I got to say, we got to win Game 3. That's it. I think you're right. They're under more pressure in this game. They gotta take it. Otherwise, Boston could get back in this. But this is great, man. I am excited. And I'll tell you something.
I can hear you. You are excited. I'm your same age, so I know your whole era. You've dealt with a lot.
And you love the Latin women too. So here's the deal.
Yes.
And the other part is, you saw Tatum dunk that ball, right? With the arrogance of like, I'm gonna win. We're gonna win. Like, it doesn't matter. I'm gonna drive down the court. I want a poster in my room, like the Starks dunk poster I had when I was 17 of Mikal Bridges blocking that shot, because it's a thing of beauty. Gentlemen, long live the Latin women.
Yeah, well, that's from your lips to God's ears. I wrote down while you were talking, divine intervention. So I talked to Shine earlier today, and he said he and his son, he let his son stay up late. He said after the ball was knocked away from Tatum, they danced around the family room for 30 minutes. We just heard it right there. I do believe there is a little something where once something special starts to get rolling, momentum. That's like what nerds and then people like me who are a hippie, they discuss, right? Oh, do you believe in momentum? I do. And I believe once things start going downhill, it's easier. That's just a law of inertia. And I really believe that there's something right now where the Knicks are going to go to MSG and be like, we got nothing to lose. when they went to MSG against the Pistons, they felt like we had everything to lose.
Yeah, it's wanting to quantify what you're seeing, because what the Knicks are doing can't be quantified. It's in so many intangible details that don't show up in the box score. They don't show up in the stats. They don't show up in the analytics. And people in our betting space, all these donks out there that live and die by numbers and act like there isn't real life happening on the floor in these games where there's real human beings who have real issues and real flaws in whatever they're doing, they fail to acknowledge that. The Knicks break all those rules, because if you go look, the Knicks lose every quarter in the box score. You know what quarter they don't lose? The fourth. 226 fourth quarter points in the postseason. That is the most. When it matters, they seem to just figure it out.
Well, we kept on asking the question, why do the Celtics bore us? Because they have a lot of great players. And I said it's Chat GPT. Like you do feel like you're entering a formula, as opposed to, the Knicks actually embody the city of New York right now, because it's just a hardworking. It's like the hard hat Pistons that I used to love with Chauncey and Rip, and there is something about the Hart Brunson relationship. There's something about Tibbs looking like he's constipated. There's something about what they've got going right now that you want to pull for.
Yeah, I mean, because they're flawed, but they find a way to make their flaws work. Brunson's an undersized point guard who has limitations on one end of the floor. Hart is a shooting guard who at times isn't great offensively, but he's a max effort guy. Like Bridges, we've seen the up and down nature. Anunoby can defend, but the offense isn't always there. But someone steps up every night. Someone has a game that carries them, that adds to it, and the next game it's a different person outside of Brunson. And I think that's something that's fascinating to watch with this team, is someone's always ready to carry whatever is being led up by the others.
I got you, big guy. Cooking. Look, he's in a good mood. His Knicks are on point. Well, I mean, I think he's a Knicks fan.
Oh, we're doing this again.
I think you are. I think you're a Mets fan.
I am a Knicks fan, but I had questions about this team. I was very down on them heading in the playoffs, and they've proved me wrong. I'll admit on this moment I was wrong. I won't admit I was wrong about Oklahoma City till they're hoisting the Larry O'Brien. I will admit I was wrong. The Knicks are legit.
I know that you, in this order, you're a fan of your girlfriend, because when I got that call, you leaving to get a passport, I knew that you're a big fan. You're a fan of the Mets, and then I'll put the Knicks 3.
Carbohydrates would probably be 3, then the Knicks 4. That's what we'd say.
888 Mad Dog 6, 888-623-3646. Back with your NBA calls. And we do have an update with the Caps hosting the Hurricanes. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
You know, I see our buddy Josh Applebaum, who's going to join us at the top of the hour. He's a Celtics fan, so that should be an interesting conversation. The easiest job in America is not, we said it yesterday, it's not, hey, I host Sports Talk in New York City today with the Knicks up 2-0. The easiest job in America is I host Sports Talk in Boston because, one, it's a miserable region. They're just not happy people. Two, they'd prefer have a loser because they like complaining more than they like celebrating, right? So, I'm guessing Sports Talk in Boston today, they're just like erections all over the place. Filger and Maslany or whatever, like whoever those two donks are, they're literally just hating to hate.
Well, no, they enjoy the hate. That's the problem. It pays to be miserable.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I'm sure they've got no mileage over Bill Belichick being abducted by a 23-year-old.
Here's the question I have for you about Josh Applebaum, who's coming up next. He had a birthday last week. Can you guess how old he is? Can you guess the age?
I know how old he is. I'm his friend.
Oh, see, I'm not good like that. Because we're not Facebook friends. I only know people's birthdays and ages based on Facebook. I think Josh, I'm going to go over 36 and a half years old. 37 and a half. We're going to say 38.
All right, we'll come back and get the answer. Little bingo with Josh Applebaum's birthday. Can't beat it. You love to hear it. The big guy. Let's go Houston and say hi to Biscuit talking Celtics. Knicks, hi, Biscuit. See, that's what happens when you go to... Oh, Biscuit, you there?
There I go. Yeah, I'm here, man. I'm just saying, before I get to my take on the Celtics, man, let's not start the Westbrook hate again, man.
Oh, Westbrook. Westbrook. He was punching
actually
people in the head last night, Biscuit. Come on.
Yeah,
Biscuit.
but I'm just saying, man, Westbrook was the only one on Denver that showed up last night. You know, they were down 20 before he even came in the game. But at least Westbrook gonna play. If you want to talk about somebody not helping a team in the playoffs, let's start with Harden or somebody like that, okay?
Okay,
but what I'm saying to you, man, is three things to me in the Knicks series that I don't think we're kind of getting brushed on, but it's not. Number one, people complain about Tibbs playing him a lot of minutes throughout the season. Well, fast forward, they're used to playing a lot of minutes now. So they don't get tired in the fourth quarter. Maybe some of the other teams do. They're used to playing these minutes. So that's a help. Number two, the big men. You rattled off some of who got the best plus minuses. Most of them are the double big lineups. The big men are starting to come back. And having the big guy in there with Towns is a big difference because he can protect the basket. And so that frees OG and Bridges to play a little tighter. And that, to me, is where Boston may be in a little trouble, especially if Porzingis doesn't come back, because they don't have such a severe advantage with Tatum and Brown. The Knicks have two defenders who can actually defend those guys one-on-one. And so it's going to be interesting to see if Holiday or White or Porzingis, that's who it's going to take. It ain't going to be Tatum and Brown. It's going to be White, Porzingis, or Holiday.
No, you nailed it, Biscuit. They've got to do better on the perimeter. Josh Applebaum, how old is he? We'll find out next. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, VSiN Live, you can sign up for the newsletter. Check out Josh Applebaum, the big guy Dustin Swedelson, and Bill AD's newsletter. Go to vsin.com/newsletter. It's completely free. Sets you up for the betting menu for the day. Some free picks in there. Even the Godfather, Brent Musburger, makes appearances. Go to vsin.com/newsletter. Again, no obligation. Just enter your email address. You're good. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Meagher. Josh Applebaum joining us, a VSiN betting analyst. Of course, he's got the podcast, he's got the books, he's got a lot going on. But as Dustin mentioned, it was his birthday. And I think Dustin was being kind, though he does have a baby face. 36 and a half, Dustin. So I'll ask you to answer your own question. How old do you think Josh is?
I'm going to guess he just turned 38.
Okay, Josh?
Absolutely spot on. I'm 38 years young, 38 trips around the sun. Excellent odds making, talent right there, Dustin. It's great to be with you guys. How you guys doing?
It's
Heavy
it's good
juice
to
on
see
that
you,
over.
Josh. Yeah, that's a good job by the big guy, 38 years old. Oh, what I'd pay to be 38 again. You got a lot of life and runway ahead of you. Now, how much runway the Celtics have in front of them, we shall see. They're down 0-2. You heard us talking a little bit. I'm guessing Sports Talk in Boston is handling this very well.
So the answer there, the answer to that, Patrick. Not handling it very well. I would say though, it is the golden age right now as we speak for calling in and just flipping out on Felger and Maz, the number one show that I listen to. Patrick, you were very close on that one. But yeah, it's crazy right now because remember, just a week ago, it was all about Belichick and Yoko Ono Jr. That's completely gone off, the radar. Rafael Devers today said that he will not move to first base and he called out the GM. That's a huge topic. But number one is this Celtics stuff, guys. I have a ton of thoughts. I don't know where you want to begin. We can talk betting. We can talk conspiracies. I mean, I got a lot of ideas.
Do it all. Let's go. Run with it, Josh. The floor is yours.
So from a betting perspective, let's start there before I inject my Boston bias into the conversation. You do have a great opportunity to buy low on the Celtics. Remember, they opened -800 to win this series. Huge favorite, obviously. They're down to basically -110, -120. So if you think that they can come back and get back into this series, it all starts, obviously, we got a couple-day break here, but if you look at the next game on Saturday, we've already seen Boston move from -4.5 up to -5.5 at Madison Square Garden. So can they win that one, make it 2-1? If you think they can come back and win the series, I mean, you're getting an incredible buy low number right now. I think if you're worried that maybe they push it to 7 and maybe they lose this series, over 6.5 games right now is +140. That's a pretty good number if you think this goes 7. I'm actually surprised you're getting a little bit of plus money here. If we look at kind of the perspective, if we take off the whole betting angle, here are my thoughts on the Celtics, guys. You may not know this or people may not be totally familiar, but the Celtics are an insanely analytical franchise. They made a deal with the devil. The Sloan Analytics conferences in Boston, they are a super analytic-driven team. And let me ask you guys this, because Joe Mazzulla, I got a lot of thoughts on Joe. I think he just plays the script that the computer gives him. He doesn't have any feel for the game. He doesn't call. How do you not call a timeout when you have 12.5 seconds left with the game on the line? And he run the same exact play. Yeah, it worked prior before when Tatum went coast to coast. But Thibodeau's a really smart defensive guy. You don't think he's going to be prepared for that? But let me ask you guys this, which will tell you all about the Celtics and their analytics approach. Joe Mazzulla a couple years ago gave us what he calls the number one stat in basketball. Let me throw it to you guys. What do you think he said was the number one stat in basketball?
Corner threes made. I'll just
close
throw it there.
Dustin?
I'll say 3-point attempts per game.
So did you look that up, Dustin? It's your 3-point attempt rate. That's what he said is the most important
60
stat.
was awesome then. 60 in game one that's a home run. No, Joe must have been happy about the loss.
Exactly. And it's like, this is the thing about the Celtics. Like the analytics say, if you're open for a 3, you take the 3. You get 3 points instead of 2. The worst shot in basketball is like the mid-range. Remember Jordan would make all those mid-range, 2-pointers. What's wrong with that? This is like Michael Lombardi saying, why don't people kick, the field goal, Dustin, instead of going for it every time? But that just goes to show you how analytically driven this franchise is. You asked after game one when they were 15 of 60, set the record for most missed three-pointers, Shaq and Barkley and Tim Legler, everyone around the NBA saying, what is wrong with you? How stupid are you? If the threes aren't falling, go to the bucket, get fouled, especially when you have a big lead. But after the game, they asked Mazzulla about it, and he basically said, hey, there's 5 or 10 shots a game you wish you could have back, but they're open shots and we're going to take them every time. So they've made a deal with the devil that they're going to live by the three, die by the three. It's super frustrating that they will not change their approach. Like when you're up 20, why not continue to go to the bucket, get the team in foul trouble? That's obviously what I would think. I'm no NBA expert. But here's my other angle, guys, that's going on with the Celtics. Why Tatum hasn't played great. Obviously Porzingis has an illness that still no one knows about. The Celtics might be going through, this is the conspiracy theory, they're kind of freaking out or having trouble with the ownership. Because if you remember, the Celtics just got sold Wick Grousbeck, who it turns out it was all his dad's money, but he was like a cheerleader for the team. Everyone loved him. It's bleed green, banner 19. They just got sold to a guy, Bill Chisholm. And there was a bidding war over who was going to take over the Celtics, Chisholm or Steve Pagliuca, who was a partner of Wick Grousbeck. Pagliuca would have kind of kept going with, we're going to pay our stars, no holds bars. We're going to keep the team together. If you notice recently, Shams Charania and a lot of these people, there's a lot of word leaking out that Chisholm is going to blow this team up. The luxury tax is insane. You have 2 max contracts. Basically, the Celtics in their heads, and again, it could be right, could be wrong. This is the only thing that makes sense to me. Their focus is not on the court. It's on what does the future hold. Is Jaylen Brown going to get traded? Porzingis, Drew Holiday, does Derek White get dealt? Because this new owner came in, and when he had the sale, it wasn't all of his money. He actually had to get some other partners, and there's comments about, will he even be willing to pay the luxury tax on these contracts? I think, number one, I hate the way they approach the game, analytics and threes, but the underlying kind of anxiety about this team, why they're not playing well, might be that it's already the last dance. They know they're getting blown up. Their friends are getting traded. Their heads are not in the game right now. That's the conspiracy theory in Boston.
Okay. So you are a man, Josh Applebaum, who does use numbers in your approach when it comes to sports betting. Like that is how you make your livelihood. However, you do pop up every now and then with a human element where you say the mentality coming off a coach getting fired or this team in a road trip and the turnaround, you're able to differentiate that you can't live and die by the numbers. What is your level of frustration that you have a coach and an organization that is just going off numbers and not factoring in any of the human element in their approach to the game of basketball right now?
So it's a great question, Dustin. This is why you're a great host. This is why Patrick has kept you around for so long as a sidekick. The numbers part of me says, I got to respect the Celtics. I'm a data-driven bettor. I try to stay true to the numbers. The Celtics, obviously, I'm not saying they're stupid, but I just feel like when you see it across like all the different sports right now, analytics has really taken over. Even like Moneyball. Remember the scene in Moneyball where, Brad Pitt is Billy Bean and, you have, Jonah Hill coming in saying, it's all about the numbers, whereas the old crusty baseball coaches say, hey, there's like there's another element to it. There's the eye test. I think there's got to be somewhat of a adjustment, and I don't know if we're going to get it. I feel like the analytics are taking over everything, and they're kind of ruining sports. You get why they do it when you see a team like the Tampa Bay Rays succeed because their analytics when they got a bunch of nobodies on the field, like it makes sense. But I think you got to change it up when you get to the postseason. Like on the one hand, you dance with one who brung you. Whatever got you to that level, you want to keep doing it. But this is not like a regular season game against the Hornets on a Tuesday night in January. This is the playoffs for the Celtics. So if the threes aren't falling, go to the rim. Again, I just think they're unwilling. They're so stubborn. In a way, you almost have to respect them because they're so tied to their belief that this and you see JJ Redick do it too. He actually, ironically, came on Felger and Maz and went off. And there was this, you should Google it. It's great. They got into a big debate where he says the math works. When you jack up all these threes, the math works and that'll lead you to victory. But that, to me, if it's a postseason, it's different. Analytics and these nerds who are taking over sports, they can't quantify clutch. They can't quantify a feel or a flow of a game. I think analytics are great to a point, but again, taking out, what was it in the World Series, guys, a few years ago? Blake Snell, when he's got a no-hitter, against the Dodgers. I just think it goes too far, and you need, as an organization, to know when to kind of dial it back a bit. Like, there's a point where it's great, but if you go too far, I think it's ruining your sport and ruining your team.
I think you nailed it. So I wrote down with the script, there's inherently variance. So 3-pointers not being made, there obviously needs to be an adjustment, but I think it's a compounding problem. When the team has been conditioned to go by the script, when it's time to adjust, like you saw yesterday, late game, they start to overthink. And what you saw from Tatum is hesitancy, where he had an open three. He's like, no. People are saying I shouldn't. And then he goes drive to the basket, and he's just, he loses the basketball because I think it starts to compound. And I think the overthinking starts to compound. And you also saw it with White missing a bunch of threes late, Horford missing threes late. I think now, if the script is hitting, you win a championship. If it's not, you get bounced in the second round. And I think that's the variance and the inability to adjust, as you say, Josh, and to add that human element. It's the people like Redick who go on and they just think they're smarter than everybody. And he's on with Felger and Masler because he stuck to his script and his team isn't playing basketball anymore. So shut up.
I'm with you, Patrick.
I mean, I think Redick's kind of a donk anyway, but regardless, I just think when you speak like the Redicks, like the Mazzulas, as though you know more than everybody without any room for any counterpoints, I think that's where you box yourself in. And I don't think Mazzulla has anything to do with coaching this team. It's Brad Stevens puppeteering it.
Yeah.
That's it, Josh. He is a puppeteer of Mazzulla. Mazzulla has no in-game feel.
I'm right there with you. And again, I think, kind of when you think about, and I was, listening to all the sound compiled across those, the basketball world of how, how stupid these Celtics players are to keep jacking up these threes when they're not falling. But I don't think you can really blame the players because they're, as you said, Patrick, this is their philosophy. They're getting it from the top down. Brad Stevens, even if I like to blame Mazzulla just because he's kind of like a mini Belichick in the press conferences. He's just mean to reporters. He acts like he's better than everyone. Just from a human standpoint, he bugs me and annoys me. But again, he's doing what Stevens and the owner, and again, new ownership now, of course, but this is all a trickle down. So it's like when your organization focuses on a philosophy, and you believe in this math, and again, the nerds who come up with this stuff, I'm not going to say like, oh, if you didn't play, you didn't know, but the data can only get you so far. There's got to be some kind of feel for, the situation and what the situation calls for. Like if I can cross sports again, another kind of, big topic or drama though earlier in the season was that Jim Rice, the great Red Sox outfielder, one of my dad's favorite players of all time, he comes to spring training with the Red Sox as like let me hang around the batting cage, give you some tips, give me some pointers. Jim Rice told one of the younger Red Sox players, I don't know who it was, it might have been Christian Campbell, but he's basically saying hit line drives, go the opposite way, choke up when it's a short count. He actually got yelled at by the guy who runs the Red Sox hitting.
Jim Rice.
There's this thing called
Jim Rice,
swing
one of the
line.
great.
Yeah, and this guy, he went off on, can you imagine this nerd from Penn or Dartmouth or Harvard going up to Jim Rice and saying, actually, Mr. Rice, we teach launch angle, and the most important thing is to hit the ball in the air. Like,
what a dick.
Unbelievable. But this is happening in all the different sports. It annoys me.
You know what it is? It's also people who act like, yeah, just execute, just do it as if it's that easy. It's just easy. Just swing up and connect and hit a home run. Obviously, we prefer you to hit a home run. Yeah, dude, if people can hit a home run every at bat, that's what they do. Now, at the beginning of this, Josh, you did say.
By the way, Dustin, can I just say Mazzulla seems like a guy that's listened to a podcast.
And he lives his entire life by that one podcast.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Listen, I was listening to Rogan. It's not. I'm not saying that I like the guy. I'm just saying he made a good. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead.
No, he's paraphrasing someone else who's paraphrasing actual thoughts.
He treats his pressers like he heard a Rogan episode.
Yeah, it's all very intentional with Joe Mazzulla. By the way, because the less he exposes about himself, the more mysterious he seems. When I think the great point you made is that Brad Stevens is in charge of this whole thing. It's no different in any other sport right now. Whoever is the coach or manager of these teams, these programs, unless they're super old school and they've been around forever, they don't call any of the shots.
It's
coming
part of the
from
reason
upstairs.
Belichick was blackballed from the NFL.
Yes.
These new age type of analytically driven organizations don't want a single figurehead.
Because here's why. They can always come back to the numbers and say, look, we didn't get the results we wanted, just like the Celtics are saying. But the numbers tell us over the course of time, we will be right more than when we're wrong. Numbers aren't real life. However, I do have numbers I want to throw at Josh right now because I'm curious. You said Boston minus 120 to win the series, value play. And I would never normally think about laying a price this big, but Boston plus 1.5 games is minus 170. They've won 4 straight at Madison Square Garden going back a couple years. They swept the regular season series with the Knicks. Plus 1.5 games at minus 170. Does that number feel right to you?
So I think you have to have a starting point. Like, you make a good point, Dustin. Like, laying a minus number on a team that's down 0-2 makes absolutely no sense. Like, in any other situation, you're going to be a dog. Yeah. You're looking at, going down, 0-3, you're getting down to losing the series. But to me, it's all about the starting point. Like, if I told you, Dustin, when the Celtics, before even game 1 started, they're minus 800 to win the series. And I said to you, Dustin, after game 3, what do you think about the Celtics minus 110? Minus 120. Like, you would most likely say, hey, that is a great value play. So the other thing is, going on the road might be better for them. This year they were 33 and 8. I believe they might have even set the record for the best road performance of any team. So oftentimes at TD Garden, you see this with the Celtics a lot. They lost quite a few games where they're favored by like 10 points or more regular season. You saw it in the Miami series a couple years ago when they got down 0-3. They almost play better on the road than they do at home. I don't know if it's they don't take it as seriously or the friendly confines. Like, they just don't approach it maybe the same way they do on the road, where it's, hey, it's us against the world. So again, game 3, we've already seen this line move toward Boston 4.5 to 5.5. To your point, Dustin, it's like, hey, do you want to just say, I'll protect myself? They could lose game 7 4-3, and I cover that plus 1.5. Or do I get a better number and say they just win this series? So again, I just think if you're going to play Boston, now is the time. I mean, again, if they lose this game here on Saturday, they're really in trouble. But the line's already moving in their favor. They've been great on the road. And the Knicks up 2-0, I mean, you got to feel great winning both games in Boston. You've already done your part. So I think the time is now to pounce on the Celtics if you believe they can come back.
Josh Applebaum, good friend, professional bettor, All Systems Go is the podcast, VSiN betting analyst. Make sure you check. Let me ask you a question, like just a personal one. If I were to poll Celtic fans and say this team that won a championship last year, or the Pierce KD teams, who would they prefer?
I would say Pierce, KG, Ray Allen. That was just
KG.
Yeah, only because Patrick, I remember, honestly, I'm going to date myself, but hey, the topic is how old I am now in this segment. But I remember I was a sophomore at the University of Vermont when the Celtics, I think they set the record for losses. And I distinctly remember sitting with 2 of my buddies in my dorm room when Tony Allen drove to the lane and blew out his knee. And that was like the ultimate low point of the Celtics. So just the fact that, and there's a great series right now, if you guys have HBO on the Max, the Celtic City, it's amazing. It goes through the history of the Celtics. But just from the low point of how bad the Celtics were, you forget that Paul Pierce got stabbed and it was going to be like, this terrible tragedy of Len Bias and Reggie Lewis, and Pierce was going to be the next one. And instead of blowing it up, you bring in KG. He didn't even want to come here. You had to bring in Ray Allen to entice him. That quick turnaround, to me, that's my favorite Celtics team of all time. And they would wipe the floor with this year's Celtics team.
Oh,
the grit, the balls. They have everything the current Celtics do not have. KG would eat these guys for lunch right now.
Well, hold on. Dustin, what I'm hearing is you and I keep asking the question, like, why am I so bored by the Celtic team?
Yeah.
Celtics fans don't even like this team.
No, there's the human thing is what I come back to. That you're right. They're cyborgs. They're AI. That's what you called them, ChatGPT. But if you had to choose right now, they both have won a title for your team. Doc Rivers or Joe Mazzulla, which direction you going with there?
Geez. Because not even close, man.
History has not been kind to Doc Rivers.
That's true. Doc might have peaked with the Celtics, but yeah, at least Doc, had a feel for his players. I'm not going to get into like his X's and O's, But if you remember that year, it was
Well, there
Ubuntu.
are none, Josh. There are none.
Yeah.
The X's
Exactly.
and O's are whether to use a driver or a 3-wood.
But Doc, to his credit, Ubuntu was their rallying cry. It was like an African term for like togetherness, having your team's back, sacrificing for the greater good. That was that whole, like, he created such a vibe on that team of, hey, KG, Ray, Paul, your points per game are going to go down, but you're going to be the best version of yourself, and we're going to get to the promised land. Like, to me, in a way, like, part of being a coach is not just X's and O's, but handling your players, handling the clubhouse. To me, Doc, is just light years beyond Joe Mazzulla. And again, when you're all like, all these analytics people, it's like, why do we even need you as a coach? I could put a computer, at courtside and just tell us what to do every play. It's gone too far, guys. It's 08 Celtics all day over the current Celtics.
You know what? The kids might have been right a few years back when they just started saying vibes nonstop. There is something about, like, right now, Dustin's got a Knicks team that is just full of vibes.
You should love that team, Dustin, don't you? I mean, they're like everything you want. They're gritty. They're getting most out of themselves.
It's interesting. I loved last year too, but obviously they fell short because of the injuries. It was a big question mark what they could have been. First it was Randall, then everyone else went down. And then as a Mets fan, I experienced this last fall where a team where, look, they were good and they were expensive, but they also were great vibes. Now the Knicks are carrying it over to a second season, great vibes. I have to tell you, I have a bit of that Boston mentality where I enjoy complaining about how miserable my team's making me. It's hard to wrap your head around that your team is the team that everyone else is looking at and going, that looks fun. I want to be a part of that. That's the team I want to ride with. It's just a weird feeling, Josh.
Definitely a weird feeling. But you got to remember, like, when I grew up as a Boston sports fan, they always lost. Like, it wasn't until, really the Patriots 01, breaking the curse 04, the Bruins won in 2011, Celtics 08, and obviously last year. But the thing about Boston is, like, we love our teams, they mean the world to us, but we're not afraid to, like, let them know that we're pissed at them. Like, there's almost I don't know if it goes back to, like, the Mayflower and coming over and start. I don't know, there's got to be some historical thing that's lived through all these times. But in a way, again, title town, and all these titles since 2001, they've been amazing. But almost the experience of being a fan was more intense. It was more meaningful when they were losing all the time. It's weird how life works that way. But a lot of the Pink Hats, the go to Fenway and sing Sweet Caroline in the 8th when the Sox are down 6-0. To me, it was almost more fun and more. It meant more when they were losing versus all the winning they've done recently.
Yeah,
I actually did just start. I started rewatching 2 nights ago John Adams on HBO. Shout to Massachusetts. What a series. I mean, what a series. And it really highlights New England. So I will say that. Josh Applebaum joining us. We'll get to your Warriors Timberwolves prediction here in a second. Yeah, I really enjoyed that conversation about, like, the Celtics. It's almost like, because of the formulaic nature, it's either title and then great, we won a title. But if they don't, it's just easy to just jab at them. And like I said, sports talk in Boston must be the easiest job in the world because it is so formulaic. It just takes the emotion away. And sports are supposed to be about the emotion.
Exactly. And, Sox win the World Series, break the curse. You got, people bringing flowers to their grandfather's graves. I mean, what does that tell you about what, sports means? And it's funny, Patrick, like, Elise, not my wife, not a sports person at all. Like, I try to, like, big game, get her amped about it, give her all the backstory. She was very fascinated, though, Patrick, I must say, about the Belichick situation with Jordan Hudson. Like,
it's bravo.
Exactly.
Bravo.
She knows more about that than I do.
What is the take? Let me just ask this, just as an aside. What has been the overriding take in New England about Belichick right now?
I think the overriding take is that he's completely lost it. He is making terrible decisions. You saw it on the field the last couple of years with the Patriots, but his off the field decisions, handing over, like, all of his, PR and strategy and everything to someone who's 24 years old, who you're dating. There's also this real estate kind of empire that he's kind of gifted to her. And again, I think the easy target is let's bash her, the 24-year-old, because she's interjecting in the CBS interview and acting like, she's been there when she hasn't earned it. I think it's all Belichick to blame. She's in this position because he put her in this position. And anyone, if you do a lot of digging here, guys, if you look at like Instagram and stuff, a lot of the Belichick kids and the kids' wives are like sniping at her in Instagram comments. Like, here's a question.
No.
Let me give you this. Which is worse, or who would you rather be in this situation? Belichick's kids or Jordan Hudson's parents?
Oof. Oh,
Well,
Belichick's kids.
Ask Dustin what my take's been the whole entire time. I don't think Belichick's making Belichick look bad. I think he's making men look bad. This is much bigger than Bill right now.
Agreed.
Yeah.
And it's not a gender war. I'm literally saying, bro, you're hurting all of us.
No. You're giving away too much. And
like we could have a private conversation, cancel culture or whatever, but you are not doing all of us, men a service. That's what I would say.
I have a couple notes. One, a couple people said this to me. Not sure Bill realized she was going to post those pictures for the world to see, like the beach, them doing the dirty dancing, whatever they were doing in the sand. But secondly, I am curious what your wife Elise thinks about the situation. We got your take, but has she shared anything? Because I'd love a woman's perspective on what's going down. Because from a guy, even I think it's freaking weird. And I was a desperate person looking for love for a very long time.
And luckily, you found that love, Dustin. So yeah. I'm happy for you, buddy. Her take is basically Belichick is getting fleeced. This girl is playing him like a fiddle. She actually kind of, in a way, respects the way like she's weaseled into his life and taken everything over. And it's also kind of interesting. Like she's from New England. Like I believe she's like competing in the Miss Maine pageant. They met. Like why doesn't she want when the guy for CBS was like, hey, how did you guys meet? Oh, we're not going to talk about that. When they have this whole elaborate story of they're on a flight.
No.
Yeah.
I have a theory that whole backstory. It's too many details. It's a lie. I'm making this up.
Yeah, Marcus Aurelius and Stoicism.
Philosophy. They walk by. First of all, who speaks to a stranger on a plane? Psychopaths, right? No one's just starts a conversation with a random person because they're reading a book on philosophy and then end up dating each other. That story has too many elaborate details. It is not true. They met on a dating website for old guys looking to date young chicks and young chicks looking to date old guys who have a lot of money. That is my theory. I have no evidence to support it. I have the way it makes sense.
I have even a deeper theory. I think New England, like we're talking about with this current day Boston Celtic team, I think quietly they always just thought Belichick was freaking rude and annoying, and they've been waiting for this to percolate. They preferred Brady. They can now say, see, it was Brady. And you know what? He was a dick the whole entire time anyway, so he's deserving what he's getting. That's just my theory, Josh.
I think you're pretty much spot on, Patrick. Yeah, I mean, you look at the Belichick Brady debate. I mean, if you go back before Brady left, it was pretty 50-50. It's like, hey, Brady's great, but does Belichick make him great? Belichick, runs the ship and Brady buys in, and it's the two of them together. It's the, Paul McCartney and John Lennon that made the Beatles so great. But really the decision's number one to let Brady go when you have no replacement. Robert Kraft deserves a ton of blame here too, because Kraft got hoodwinked. And again, if Belichick is saying, I don't want to pay this guy at the time, guys, it was only 2 years, $50 million. He wanted the Drew Brees contract. How do you not pay him that deal and then have no backup plan, ready for that? So Belichick, to me, it was great when it was going well, but I think he's pretty much getting exposed where, hey, he thought he could win with a top 15 quarterback. That's really far from the case. I would love to see a UNC win total. Let's dial up Michael Lombardi.
They're not going to win anything. Listen, I'll say, Dustin and Josh, I'll say this as well. He's always thought about being brilliant. When the questions were asked on CBS and you could actually see the pinwheel spinning because his brain couldn't keep up with what he was supposed to say, it's not a tremendous look for an erudite human.
I'm also I'm far from an alpha, But to sit there while your girlfriend's interjecting and not just,
Oh, you
"Look,
got to
I'll
chill.
handle
You
it,"
were
it-
you got to chill. You were just at the passport office. Like you would do whatever she said. Let's be fair.
yeah, like go to Palm Springs this weekend.
I'm saying that lovingly. You literally, and you should do what she says.
But hold on. But they're in a professional setting. He is being interviewed. He's 70-something years old. He's allowed to say, hang on, I got it. It's not a hard question.
Don't you agree? You could actually see him trying to think, and that's awkward.
Struggling.
He was struggling.
No. Now it makes me believe, Josh, it was all a cover. And every time he was rude or short with the media, it was to cover up that he might be kind of stupid.
Do your job. Okay.
So totally valid.
Toddlers at daycare yell, do your job.
Yeah. Okay, Schopenhauer.
I'd say one more thing, guys, just because, I love your show because I can, kind of show people what a weirdo I am and like, non-betting thoughts and stuff like that.
Aliens again.
We're not going aliens yet, but here's what I would say. There was a caller on the topic of Boston Sports Radio who called in, or maybe it was a host, but they kind of explained like there's this new like fetish among older rich guys where like they get off by handing their lives over to younger women and then having them like spend a crap ton of money on their credit card. Like it's almost like a
sugar baby. They're sugar babies. Sugar daddy, sugar
there's
baby.
some term for it. There's like a new term, but there's like literally a clinical diagnosis for this kind of issue that Belichick is having right now.
I don't disagree. Let's get a pick in. I've enjoyed the 33 minutes. True betting. That was about as good as it gets. So thank you guys both for that. Let's in 1.5 minutes, can you give me your take on Warriors T-Wolves tonight?
Yeah, I think if you want to lay the points in this one, I'm really not going to argue with you. You open this game minus 10 T-Wolves. They're up to 10.5 as we're speaking right now, guys. They just went to 11. So this line's moving pretty big toward Minnesota. Right now, the splits look really great at DraftKings. The T-Wolves are only getting 46% bets, but nearly 80% of the money. Really sharp split at Circa as well. Do we see in this spot with no Steph Curry, kind of like what we saw with OKC last night, where they just absolutely rolled and blew doors? But then I'll give you a prop bet. Who do we think is going to benefit with Steph Curry being out? Gary Payton Jr. Gary Payton Jr. and Dustin, you're the guy who crushes all these player props. What do you think about Gary Payton Jr. over 11.5 points and rebounds? That's minus 125. Came off the bench, got a ton of minutes. Can you get you 12 combined points and rebounds? I like that play tonight.
Josh, you could convince me of everyone on the Warriors not named Jimmy Butler, because Jimmy Butler is going to be the sole focus of Minnesota's defense. He's going to have to dish it to everyone else. They're going to be in the mix a lot more. I bet Kuminga points. I bet Pajensky over 22.5 combo points, rebounds, and assists. I will gladly back Gary Payton Jr., especially if it's a blowout, because then Jimmy comes off the floor to rest. All those other guys will finish the game. They will stuff their stat sheets.
Minnesota wins by 35 plus.
Give
me a ladder. Give me a ladder. Josh Applebaum, VSiN betting analyst at Josh_insights. All systems go wherever you get your podcast. And his brand new book, the NFL Sharp Betting Playbook, comes out August 12th. You can pre-order that now on Amazon. That was fun, Josh. Thank you.
That was fun. I got to say, of all of our Thursday night hangouts, this power rating might be the best so far.
I think we go alien conversation, the Belichick sugar daddy. And happy birthday. We're coming back,
guys.
In Winfield and New York Daily News next. It's VSiN Live.
This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, early Minnesota all over Golden State. I believe it's 8-0. Golden State took a timeout. And our Caps bet, they were catching 150 at home. Right now, Washington leads 1-0 over Carolina, 234. Again, to me, that was just about the spot. I think Carolina ends up winning the series, but you can't. A team that's been in fuego at home like the Capitals all year, lose in overtime, quick turnaround. Carolina feels like, all right, we already got the win we needed. The motivation's off the charts for Washington. They couldn't have played worse than they played offensively in game one, and they lost in overtime. To me, who knows what's going to happen? It's just a 1-goal lead, but I love the Caps. That's a price play for new bettors. That's where you just say plus 150. I don't care who's in, who's out. That's an insane price at home.
It's also a pride play. You just have to assume the Capitals have enough pride knowing that they lost game one at home. They are the top seed, that they're going to come through now. Obviously a long series ahead here for Washington, but you have to imagine in the spot with the circumstances, they steal one here and then they probably lose the rest of the series. That's all.
Yeah, no, I agree. Pride and price.
And prestige, tradition, honor, and glory.
Pride, prestige, tradition, honor, and glory. Shout to Leslie. This for old school or like very old school rap listeners. You'll remember Leslie in Jersey, and that was my man. He was something. Christian Winfield is going to be joining us. We're efforting New York Daily News. You know what? I think my first question will be, I'll just run it by you guys before we get our guest. What was the vibe? I mean, as a beat reporter, you're around the team incessantly, constantly. You get a feel for the players, get a feel for, the overall vibe of the team. What was the vibe of the Knicks going into that Piston series as compared to going into the Boston series? I'm talking before anything even happened, because I just believe when you have that much pressure and then all of a sudden you turn around and the Celtics are an $8 favorite, the Knicks got nothing to lose. Just go out and play. You're supposed to get killed anyway.
Yeah, but it's just the way they've done it that fascinates me, that I'd love to get some insight into, just because they've lost for most of the series. I have the numbers here from a minutes perspective. It's kind of crazy where the Knicks have not led for very much. I believe they've led for about 12 to 13 minutes, and like 81 minutes on the other side for Boston. So 81 minutes versus like not even 13, 14 minutes for the Knicks. That means the Knicks literally are losing the entire game and then just find a way in the end to sneak one by them. It's a wild process to watch.
It really is, but that's the human element that we were talking about. It's funny, too. Biscuit, I believe it was, that called in and said, where are all the people talking about Tibbs? He played his guys too many minutes in the regular season, and now those minutes are paying dividends. Biscuit, I hate to give away the secret sauce about hosting sports talk. That's what we do. We take one angle. If it works, we apply it as a negative. And then if it works in the other way, we apply it as a positive. The one thing about Tibbs' approach, nobody's saying anything original for the most part, aside from like me and Dog. No offense, big guy. Nobody's saying anything original. They're all just saying like, what's up with the minutes? And then all of a sudden the minutes turn into fourth quarter success. And then people say, you know what? Tibbs knew what he was doing.
Yeah, but a year ago, those were the same people saying that Tibbs ran the team into the ground. It's why everyone got injured, and it's why things fell apart for them when they were an exciting team with a ton of chemistry a year ago. So it's the same people saying that are now saying, look, this team's conditioned and ready for the end of the game in overtime.
Which, how do you even measure the injury? It's like, what is the cost-benefit analysis? Of course, if you're playing more minutes. Anyway. It looks like Christian is logging on. Josh writing that was epic. Christian Winfield, New York Daily News. He picked a good time to cover the Knicks, man. This is quite a run. Christian, you can find him on Twitter at Chris Splashed. No. Chris Splashed on Twitter. As we say hi to Christian Winfield, New York Daily News. Christian, thank you for a couple of minutes. I know it's a busy time.
Oh man, it's crazy. I'm just glad to finally be able to enjoy my bet. I don't know how some of these players are able to go from city to city, play road back to back, 4 games and however many nights. It's just as a reporter who's not out there on the floor, I'm gassed. But here we are. And this team finds himself up 2-0, and I don't think anybody had them being up 2-0 over the reigning champ. So I'm sure we got a lot to talk about.
We certainly didn't. I wanted to ask you this, just covering the team, you're constantly around them, you're picking up on vibes. Was there a different feel around the Knicks going into the Piston series as compared to going into the Boston series?
That's a good question. I think all the players entering that Pistons series were ready for a dogfight. Like they knew what type of series that was going to be just because of Detroit's MO. Detroit doesn't have the same level of talent on paper. So how are they going to win these games? How are they going to make them competitive? They're going to beat you up, right? They're going to see just how much heart you have. And I think because of that series, this team really came together and found the grit and resilience needed to be able to come back from down 20, right? And you talk about this Celtics series. A lot of people counted the Knicks out walking into this series, but you have to remember those first 3 games that you play the Celtics and their blowouts, Mitchell Robinson is not available in those 3 games. My favorite stat is the Knicks are a bottom 10 defensive team before Mitchell Robinson is on the floor. They come back, they're automatically a top 10 defense just by virtue of him being on the floor. And you can just look at the plus minus. Last night, plus 19 off the bench, game 1, plus 13. Right. So I think they were 2 different challenges, 2 different feelings walking into the series. I think the Knicks, number one, needed to make sure they were competitive in that first game just to validate against the Celtics that, they belonged in the conversation just on the floor with them. But they looked at that last game of the season where it went to overtime and they lost by 2 or whatever it was. They looked at that game as, okay, this is real data as opposed to those other games. I think that gave them some confidence that they could hang in the ring with the Celtics. I don't know that anyone saw them, number one, coughing up 20-point deficits to start each of these games and then coming back and winning these games. I spent yesterday in the locker room asking all the players if they need to, spot the Celtics 20 points at tip-off from now on just to play their best basketball. And everybody was like, no, we got to figure this out. So they're definitely in there looking at some film right now.
Right before you joined us, we were talking about how everyone's saying, the Knicks now, because they play so many minutes, they're well conditioned to handle the fourth quarter, end the game, and then the overtime in game 1. But those were also the same people a year ago who had complaints that Tom Thibodeau ran the roster into the ground. That's why they were getting injured, and that's why the playoffs went the way they did. As the season went and the Knicks were kind of an underachieving team and they weren't living up to what we saw, especially late last year, did you ever get a sense that the locker room had turned on Tom Thibodeau? Because it does feel like a close-knit bunch. Can you take us inside the mentality of the team and how they feel about their head coach?
I don't get the sense that they turned on Tom Thibodeau. I think, a lot of their struggles, particularly on the defensive end, as I mentioned, were attributed to Mitchell Robinson not being out there. Because he's not out there, you got a lot of guys like Mikal Bridges, for example, who become the scapegoat. You're asking Mikal Bridges to do so much on the defensive end in terms of guarding the other team's best player every night. They weren't even using OG Anunoby in that role, right? And then you get to the playoffs, and now you're starting to make schematic adjustments, and lo and behold, you got OG guarding Cade Cunningham, and you got Mikal Bridges floating around. Now you've got OG guarding Jason Tatum and Mikal guarding Jaylen Brown. So I think there was always a level of confidence and trust in Tom Thibodeau because I was just saying this not too long ago. Tom Thibodeau was a guy who never leaves the practice facility. You've got players who are telling me, hey, we just want Tom to go home and enjoy his $1 million home or however many millions that he spent on his house because he's staying in the practice facility all day. And, it's fake concern for him. But at the end of the day, that goes to show you what type of attention to detail and just how prepared he is. That's the word that all the players use, prepared. Tom is prepared for all these games. And because he's prepared as a trickle-down effect, so is everybody else. Prepared and attention to detail are the 2 words that come up most when you ask about Tom Thibodeau. So the minutes are a lot, yes, and they wear on you. But you have guys like Jalen and Mikal saying, hey, because we played all those minutes, now our bodies are pretty much prepared. Like, look at Mikal, for example. He's a guy who, as the minutes count increases, his game gets better. He's a guy and he hates it about himself. He doesn't really start playing his best basketball until the fourth quarter. And then in the fourth quarter, look what happens. 14 points, 6 to 10 shooting, big shots down the stretch, game-saving plays. You're starting to see other teams wear down, towards the fourth quarter and overtime. The Knicks find ways to just get better as games go on. Now, the issue becomes when you play a team, if you are able to advance to the next round, and you play a team like, say, Indiana, that's able to play 11 guys and not really play anybody more than 25 minutes, and they're just cycling fresh legs on the floor, that's when it becomes an issue. But if you're playing against teams that also have a shortened rotation and they're not accustomed to playing these heavy minutes, you look at the Knicks and say, hey, they're built for this. They've got that grit. So I'm not sure that they're ready. I'm not sure that they're winning these games, that they're coming back from down 20, that they're playing their best basketball right now, if it's not for the guy who's a head coach in orange and blue.
Christian, we were talking about when things go poorly for the Celtics, who's the leader on the floor? Is Jalen Brunson? He is the best player, but is he unquestionably the leader of this Knicks team?
I think for sure. I think every team can have a different leaders for different moments, right? For example, Campaign is a vocal leader off the bench. Campaign is the guy who's screaming at Mikal Bridges to get his head in the game when he's shooting 0 of 8 from the field to start the game. PJ Tucker's the guy who's yelling from the bench, trying to get guys involved, trying to get everybody on the same page. So I think leadership can come in different forms and different players can lead at different times. But if we're talking about the captain in terms of just overall leader of this team, absolutely. He's a guy who's going to take it upon himself either to get a bucket or to generate the best possible shot. But in terms of like emotional leader, in terms of vocal leader, that's another thing about this team, and I made this observation the other day, after a game, especially like, for example, while I was covering the Nets, every single game, post game, it was Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, right? Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving at post game podium every time. On the Knicks, you could have Jalen Brunson and Mikal Bridges. You could have Jalen Brunson and Karl Anthony Towns. It could be yesterday was Josh Hart because he had 23 points. It could be OG. It could be anybody's night. And because it can be anybody's night, everyone kind of feels empowered to lead in their own way. So, leadership is kind of spread evenly on this roster. But at the end of the day, you've got Jalen who's leading the way. You've got guys like PJ. You've got guys who are off the bench kind of giving the starters confidence. And that's been huge for this team this season.
Game 3 is Saturday. It's going to be insane at the Garden. Right now, the Knicks are 5-point home dogs. Totals 204.5, Christian. Help us. I can't believe I'm saying this, but write the script. If the Knicks are going to go up 3-0 on the Celtics in the Eastern semis, how does that happen in Game 3?
I mean, recent history tells us they're going to struggle at home. You think about that Detroit series, the 2 games they lost were at Madison Square Garden, right? So this is a Knicks team that has to focus up because as much as you want to, ride your high horse and say this team is 2-0 against the defending champs, if you put 2-0 together, that's 20. They've trailed by 20 twice in this series, and this is not something that this team likes. They don't like that they've picked up this reputation as a team that can come back from down 20 because they'd rather not be down at all, right? So, and on top of that, you've got to be prepared. Kristaps Porzingis was sick these first 2 games. He was really limited. I'm expecting him. This isn't like breaking news. He's going to be questionable for that game. I'm expecting him to play, more minutes and have an impact. This is a guy the Knicks just couldn't guard during the regular season. And on top of that, we're going to see the Celtics in fight or flight mode with their backs against the wall, which we haven't seen them in that version maybe all year, right? This is a Celtics team now that if they lose Game 3, already down 0-2, 86% of teams that take a 2-0 series lead go on to win that series. You go down 0-3, that drops to 0. No teams come back from down 3-0. So I'm expecting the Celtics to come out and show why they're the reigning champs. I'm expecting them to maybe not try to jack up 100 threes in a game, but at the same time, this is what happens when you have Mitchell Robinson in the paint. I'm of the belief that guys are seeing Mitchell Robinson in the paint, and on top of that, OG Anunoby and Mikal Bridges are so difficult to beat on the point of the attack that you're not even really able to create the shots that you would like. So the Celtics offense is all out of whack. We'll see what the adjustments look like from here from Game 2 to Game 3. But at the end of the day, I'm looking at some of the trends that the Knicks have had at home. Also, the trends in terms of start times. This is a 3:30 start time. The Knicks have not been their same efficient selves when the tip time is earlier than 7 or so. So we'll see what happens here. But at the end of the day, the Knicks have a lot of confidence. And the confidence comes from not beating a team at all in the regular season, then beating them on their home floor twice to start this series. Game 3 is going to be one for the books for sure.
Christian, with all due respect to the Nets, a good career move as far as jumping on the Knicks beat. That's what I would say for a great paper. The New York Daily News, Christian Winfield, KRI splashed on Twitter. Thank you for a couple minutes, man. I know you're busy. We appreciate you.
Thanks for having me, man. Anytime. Next time, maybe we could spend some more time together. You guys are fun.
Yeah, we'd love to have you again. Christian, thank you so much. That was tremendous with Christian Winfield. A busy schedule, so we appreciate the time. We're coming back with a Warriors T-Wolves update. VSiN Live. All right, Ramirez, take it easy. Sorry, we're backed up here. We had Josh, and then we had to kind of dance for Christian Winfield, NY Daily News. But he did a great job talking about the Knicks. I thought he gave us some good stuff as far as like the start time, their struggles at home, Mitchell Robinson's impact. He was very good.
Look, when you're betting the Knicks at this point, I would just go Boston first quarter, Boston first half, even Boston third quarter. But Knicks money line in the fourth quarter every single time. Whether they're winning or they're losing, they just do more in the fourth quarter than the Celtics. So I would go up until then, lay it with the Celtics until the fourth quarter.
You know who has the answer? Our next guest, our VSiN NBA insider, Jonathan Von Tobel, joins us next here. VSiN Live. It's Mad Dog Sports Radio.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Yes, sir. VSiN is on Sirius XM channel 158. You can hear our next guest there and get 24/7 sports betting coverage. And on the SiriusXM app, as an exclusive offer for you, only you can get full VSiN Pro access through August 1st for just $19. That includes a daily email with all the best bets from hosts and guests, exclusive betting splits from DraftKings and Circa, plus our NFL betting guide when it drops. Go to vsin.com/subscribe. Use the promo code SIRIUS to sign up. You get everything for $19 through August. Great deal. You don't want to miss that. Dustin Swedelson, I'm Patrick Meagher. Isaiah Ramirez, New York City, with a bit of an attitude. I'm not going to lie. Isaiah Wrinkle, not an attitude in Las Vegas, running youtube.com/VSiN Live. Never an attitude on our next guest. Jonathan Von Tobel is joining us. VSiN host, Money Moves, Monday through Friday, noon to 2. It's a good schedule. Eastern time at me JVT on Twitter. He is Mr. NBA, and he joins us now, and he's in a good mood. His sport is flourishing. It's a good time to be alive, Jonathan.
Yes, it is. What's going on, guys? I'm very excited, very happy. I guess it is my sport. I got roped into the NHL versus NBA postseason dynamic about like a week ago, which I really couldn't care less about. So I'm very happy that what we've been able to watch in the NBA has been a ton of fun. Every game almost has been fantastic.
Yeah, I
meant horse racing. I was talking about horse racing. You're a big horse racing fan, right?
Oh yes, of course. Very disappointed that we're not going to see
Sovereignty in the Preakness.
Thank you. Yes. All right.
I saw the pinwheel spinning, so I thought
I was going to say serendipity, but yeah, sovereignty. There we go.
Do a little Google search on the fly. I never heard of it.
Right.
I joined you in that little debate on Money Moves, which I love the show, you and Stormy, where I tried to have your back, and then apparently listeners thought we were being vicious and mean. Very, very interesting reactions to us saying the NBA playoffs were better.
Ridiculous. Well, and it's a dumb debate. Like I don't really care about it. I would say that you don't exactly what's the word I'm looking for? Exude confidence in your favorite sport if you constantly have to tell everybody it's the best. Just put it that way.
There's something to that. There's something. Now, we have not talked to you since the Clippers were eliminated. And now you really love them to beat Denver. Somehow my Knicks are up 2-0. Have you thought about joining the bandwagon and becoming a Knicks fan with me for the stretch run? Because I did start to support your Clippers at the end there, even though they fizzled out.
I don't want to make a joke with very serious implications. But there's a lot of things I'd rather do than cheer for the New York Knicks. I think you can kind of put those things together because I don't want to make any jokes that may offend some folks. But I will say we did get a new pope today, and if there's a God, the Knicks will lose the next 4 games. So, no, I will not join you on the bandwagon with the New York Knickerbockers. As far as the Clippers are concerned, I was, to my own credit, telling anybody who had listened to me the last 3 games of that series, don't trust them. Don't trust them. There's no need to trust them. They are a team that is led by James Harden, who we know how he is at the end of these series. And one of the things that I kind of kept harping on down the stretch, I think Kawhi Leonard deserves some criticism. I do think, and I think I even told you guys this angle, which is, I do think there is a very big positive to having a leader who does not get too high or too low. There is also, I think, a very big detriment to having a leader who does not get too high or too low. And when guys are not doing what they need to do, and you need somebody to tell them, like Patrick does to Dustin every day, hey, get your head out of your ass. We've got something to do here. Let's go. Kawhi's not going to be that guy. Harden's not going to be that guy. And that message rings hollow when it's like Derrick Jones Jr. or anybody else. And I think the lack of a very strong and fiery leader, among some other things, really did weigh that team down. So I didn't really trust him at all. I don't think there was a reason to. I did think, like you said, Dustin, that they were going to win the series overall, but they should have won it the way it looked like they could have, which was quick, short. They were 4 seconds away from going up 3-1 in that series, and they lost in 7. That's their own fault.
Who's that guy on the Celtics? Good segue. Going into Game 3 down 0-2. Who is that guy?
I think you can maybe make the argument it's Al Horford, maybe. I mean, he is at least somewhat deserving. Right, but that's kind of what you're getting at here. And I would agree. And look at what the other day when Denver was playing Oklahoma City. I don't know if it was game 1 or game 2, everything else together, but we saw the clip of Jokic in the huddle. He's grabbing the clipboard. He's demonstrative. He does it on the floor as well. We see, you can go to Superstar A. You can recall a moment of some sort in which that best player is in the midst of his team, already having shown via example on the floor and now off the floor, leading with the way they are. And I think that every team does need that. You would think it's Jason Tatum, their best player, but it doesn't really maybe seem to be the case. Joe Mazzulla is not a coach that is going to do that, right? Joe Mazzulla, who when asked, again, to the theme of the Pope, how is it meeting the royal family? The only royal family I know is Mary, Jesus, and Joseph, right? That guy's
Jesus
not...
Christ.
Yeah,
literally Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
So that guy's not going to really do too much. I one of my favorite moments from Ime Udoka's tenure as a coach was reportedly during that run to the NBA Finals, he calls a timeout. They all get together. There's no whiteboard. There's no nothing. He gets them on the sideline together and says, will you guys stop playing like assholes, and leaves the huddle. Like that is kind of the thing that certain teams need. And I would agree with you what you kind of going the path you're kind of going down, Patrick, which I think there's an argument to be made. The Celtics don't really have that.
Yeah, and then for the Knicks, how do we quantify this? The Celtics have led 82 minutes of this series. The Knicks have led 12. The Knicks are up 2-0.
Yep.
Make it make sense, JVT.
I mean, I can make it make sense, but I don't think you or maybe any other New York-based producers who love the Knicks are going to enjoy it. I saw your guys' tweet, right, which was I'm paraphrasing here. One word to sum up the Knicks and Celtics series, right? To me, the word that immediately came to mind was variance. The Boston Celtics over the last 2 games, and this is, I think, what really it comes down to at this point right now. I'll get this for you. According to the tracking data, which, can be a little hit or miss here and there. According to the tracking data, over the last 2 games, the Boston Celtics have generated 48 uncontested three-point shots. So defenders 6 feet or farther away. They are shooting 25% on those looks. They are generating a wide amount of wide open looks from beyond the arc, and they are not hitting them. Meanwhile, the New York Knicks are shooting 50% from 3 on their wide open attempts. That's the reason why they're up 2-0. And this is why I go back to, we can talk about leadership. We can talk about guys getting too tight. I find it hilarious that we're having this discourse about a team that just won a title last year, and people are talking about, I don't know if this offense works. Like, brother, we just watched them destroy the Eastern Conference a year ago, and every bit of data would tell you their offense is working. It's just the final result isn't there. I think there's a very good chance after a couple of lopsided results at the Garden that we come back to Boston and it's 2-2.
Wow. So Boston adjusted last night. I believe we said the Knicks were $1.30, and maybe it's flipped now to Boston being $1.30 series price. If you had to pick a side at this point, where would you go?
I mean, instead of laying minus 130, I think the best way to do it is just bet Boston to win everything. I think they're right now floating in 3-1 range. You haven't seen that price on Boston since the beginning of the regular season. That's the way I would do it. If you're somebody like me that believes the variance is going to swing back in the other direction in a very strong way, and that Boston's going to start to look like Boston, then I think that this is going to be one where, why not just bet them to win the Eastern Conference? Why not just bet them to win the NBA Finals? It's a tact, Patrick, that I tried, if you remember 2 years ago when they were down 3-0 to the Miami Heat. I bet them at 20-1 to win the NBA Finals because I was I think this team can come back, and I'd rather be sitting on the best team in the NBA on 20-1 going into the NBA Finals than I would anything else because they're going to be favored there. I think you take the same tact here. If you think that they're going to win this series, why bet them to win the series? Bet them to win the NBA Finals because they're going to be favored in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they're going to be favored in an NBA Finals ever so slightly. Potentially. We'll see how they get through if they win this series, if they beat Indiana, and what Oklahoma City looks like the rest, because there's a small chance that OKC could be favored if they show up like they did in game 2 and run roughshod over everybody.
Yeah, you're right, though. 3-1 is a pretty good number if all things are equal, right? And everyone plays to their full potential. They're dangerous. It's just we don't get that. And there's these lulls in the action where they disappear, not scoring for a huge chunk of time last night in game 2. But I do think 3-1 is a value play, especially because if they do come back and beat the Knicks, Cavs are banged up. Pacers can't hang with them. We saw how that went a year ago. And then you can hedge that ticket against Oklahoma City if you like. So I get where you're coming from. But as someone who likes to live by the numbers, who likes to dive into analytics, how do you feel about the lack of adjustments? The fact that they just keep going with their philosophy, shooting the threes even though they're not falling. Do you have any issues with that?
No, I mean, because again, they're open looks, right? What are you supposed to do if you're Boston? If I'm generating wide open 3-point attempts and they're just not going down, why would you want to mess with the process that is getting you to the wide open looks, right? The whole point of your offense is to generate the best look possible. And so what's happening is they're generating the best look possible, but the result is not the result that you want. And so everybody's telling you, well, you got to change this process. I just read you the numbers. In 2 games, they've generated 48 uncontested 3-point shots. That's a dream. That's what you want. And yet the shots aren't going down. Why would you change a process that has generated 25, a quarter of your 3-point attempts in 2 games, have not had a defender within 6 feet? Why would you change that process?
Yeah, I understand that, but at the same time, you're not hitting those shots. That's
Right, but in 2
you're not
games,
executing.
Dustin, that yes, in 2 games you're not, but again, how we got here and how you are the team that you are is this process that we now all want to change. That's to me that's where I push back on all of this.
Okay.
Like you're doing what you're supposed to do. You're getting the open looks. You're doing everything possible. You're just not hitting the shots. Why would you change that when steps 1 through 3 leading up to 4 are everything you need to be, and step 4 you're just not getting there?
Would the Golden State Warriors without Steph Curry beat the Portland Trailblazers in a 7-game series?
Portland Trailblazers, what do you mean?
I just think they stink without Steph. I think they're like literally.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay.
Yeah, like where would the roster?
Like,
where would that
it's,
roster
it's,
be?
it's one.
So
it's
I mean,
one
no, I
way of
misheard the
jockeying
question.
Steph. It's one way of jockeying Steph, but it's
Yeah.
also a way of saying this roster freaking stinks.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry, I misheard it. I thought you said with Steph Curry. I was like, yeah, I think
No,
they beat
without.
the Portland Trailblazers.
Without.
No, like I think generally you're right. I think what's been kind of worrisome about Golden State, and right now they're just they have like 17 points, and we're into the second quarter already. You were supposed to be not relying on Steph anymore because you got Jimmy Butler, right? Like that was the whole thing. It's like we have our other star that we're creating offense with, and when Steph is off the floor, excuse me, when Steph is off the floor, your offense has been bad in this postseason. When Jimmy's on the floor without Steph Curry, your offense has been bad this postseason, and you're still getting outscored every 100 possessions. That is a problem because the whole thing was supposed to be, hey, we got a guy that can give us a little bit of offense when Steph's not out there. So I would agree with your general premise, which is, look, this team's going to be pretty dead without Curry. Game 1, again, not to take away from anybody, that was an exercise in futility on the state of the the Minnesota Timberwolves. It was not like, hey, look at this team. Like Minnesota stunk. They couldn't hit water falling out of a boat. They themselves, in terms of hitting wide open 3-point attempts, could not do it. They did not generate the same amount that Boston did, but they were still generating open looks that they could not hit. They could not finish within 4 feet of the basket. They shot about 32 shots within 4 feet of the basket, Patrick, in that first game, but they shot about 52% on those attempts. It should not be a coin flip at the rim. You should be able to shoot over 60% within 4 feet, so that has not been the case. I'm with you. Like, this is somewhat worrisome. They should lose. I say they should lose the games without Steph Curry, and there is a small possibility that it's 3 games and you're down 3-1 by the time maybe Steph Curry comes back.
Maybe. I don't know if he's coming back.
Dude, the report was that he cried in the locker room.
I thought it was really bad when I thought when I saw it in real time, I'm like, oh, he's done.
Yeah.
Because he was trying to push he was trying to push through it. That's just who he is. He was trying to be like, oh, I'm not that bad. And then when he didn't come back, I was like, he's done for the season.
Yeah.
Who reported this, but I didn't realize it. He's never had an injury like this in his career. Think about how long he's been playing. He's never had like a soft tissue hamstring type issue. So we don't even know. The thought is he's out a week. It could be longer. I mean, it could be less too, but it could be way longer. These injuries are weird.
Yeah, well, and it was pointed out, and I'm kind of paraphrasing here, but essentially, I think it was either the most like miles he had run in a postseason series or like usage rate, whatever it was. It was the most physical load of some sort that Steph Curry has had on his shoulders in a postseason series, and then in Game 1 of the next series, he gets his hamstring pulled. Like it shows you exactly what they're asking him to do. And that's really hard for a guy that is as old as he is in basketball years. And I think that really caught up with him. And we'll see. I mean, look, Jimmy Butler has carried worse to greater heights than what Golden State has right now. But I think what's in front of him is much different than what was in front of him the years that he was with Miami.
Yeah. And,
go ahead.
I was just going to ask about Minnesota because Minnesota's been a team that's been intriguing for, I don't know, 8 weeks now, JVT, hitting their stride. Let's say they get past this. And they did split the regular season series with OKC, in fact, winning a game in Oklahoma City.
Yeah.
How do they match up with the Thunder, who just made a statement last night against Denver?
Yeah, I mean, remember, like you're referring to it, Dustin. Remember that 2-game set that they had with Oklahoma City in the regular season, where they went out there. It was 2 games it was a home and home, if I remember correctly. Yep. And they had 1-1, and then they go back, and then they come storming back in an overtime, a fourth quarter when they were down by 16. Yes. Remember, they were down by 16 points, and they come storming back, and they end up beating them in regulation, in overtime. So they have had success. Look, I think the Minnesota Timberwolves are capable of almost everything in this postseason. If you were to tell me coming back from the future and being like, bro, the Minnesota Timberwolves won the NBA Finals, I'd be like, okay, that makes sense. And then if you were to tell me they would lose to the Golden State Warriors in 7 and not even make it to the Western Conference Finals, I would say, oh, okay, that makes sense. Like, I think that everything for Minnesota is on the table because, like, they're really capable. They're also capable of doing what they just did over the last 2 games, which is shooting 20% from 3 and looking absolutely abysmal on offense and having no real flow or separate or spacing or anything like that. It really, I think, does fall on them. The upside on defense is there. They're going to be one of the best defensive teams left in the field, regardless of who's still alive. And I think they have the potential to be very versatile with the way they play on offense, but their offense is not perfect, and it's very reliant on three-point shooting. And sometimes when those shots don't fall, you get the performance like you did the other night.
Breaking news, Draymond Green is fighting with the Timberwolves. He then started fighting with Steph Curry, who tried to settle him down. He then started fighting with Steve Kerr. He then started fighting with the Timberwolves fans.
Really?
And he's unhinged. So
get out of here, seriously?
No, I'm 100. I know it sounds crazy. 33-17, Minnesota leads the Golden
awesome.
Warriors. Jonathan Vonto. Steph came out to center court to calm Draymond down. Draymond started screaming at Steph. So he's a fun. You know what? He seems fun. Anyway,
by the way, just real quick, that was his. So apparently he got a technical. That's his 5th technical. For the audience, remember 7 technicals, you get a 1-game suspension. So just keep that in mind.
I think we got to chill. I think I'm going to chill personally about bashing Draymond anymore because when we're talking mental, like seriously, I don't know about mental. Like there might be something going on.
If you're Minnesota, are you not though? Like every interaction, like leaning in and be like, you're such. You are such. I can't even say. You know, like you know what I mean. Just trying to goad him so bad,
but
because
also,
he can't handle it.
But I'm watching the play that the disagreement began with. He's flopping, trying to draw a random foul out on the perimeter. Like, it doesn't even make any sense what he's angry over.
Of course.
That anger is not – the anger he's showing is not meant for the people that are receiving it.
That sounds exactly like Draymond every time.
do you think Cleveland comes back and beats Indiana in the series?
Can you tell me whether or not those guys are going to play? I mean, that's – dude, it's crazy. Like that – Donovan Mitchell has nobody else for him. Like they stink. There's no other shot creator on that team outside of maybe Max Strus. Ty Jerome stinks. Like I'm sorry, he was a great story, but like you know, as I kept watching him the other day, that I don't know if this actually makes sense or not, but I kept looking at him and going like, you know, Ty Jerome looks like a guy that would tell people that he plays in the NBA because he's just not good. You know what I mean?
He's like 1 of 14.
Yeah, like he was terrible. He was terrible on offense. He was terrible on defense. And there is no other shot creator for this team. Look, they're not the greatest defensive group. They're not going to be great without Evan Mobley out there either. But at the very least, if you could give him Darius Garland in 2 games, guys, they have 124 points in the paint. Cleveland does against Indiana in 2 games. They've been crushing them. They've been getting to the paint and getting to the restricted area with relative ease. But, dude, he's got nothing going on. He had a usage rate of 50% in that game. There's nobody else to help him. So if they're going to be healthy, Patrick, I think there's a potential they can push Indiana to extend this series out. But if they're going to miss these guys still, I think it's going to be a nightmare for them, and this could end pretty quickly.
You know, early in the year, there was that player poll that came out. Tyrese Halliburton was voted the most overrated player. I think that was a lot of what we saw him doing the Joe Boo, the nuts swinging thing.
Yeah.
After hitting that big walk-off shot to win the game the other night. But I think this roster is interesting for the Pacers, JVT. Do you think Kevin Pritchard, the GM, deserves his flowers a little bit? I know it doesn't feel like a championship roster, but when you factor in where they're consistently picking in the draft, they're in the postseason just about every year now. And they're pretty deep. They're a mid-market. It's hard to get people there. Do you think that roster is better than people give them credit for?
Oh yeah, like totally, man. Like they're a very talented roster all the way through. And they have a good eye for talent, acquiring the likes of Aaron Nesmith and Tyrese Halliburton and going and acquiring Pascal Siakam the way they did. You know, the core tenets of this team aren't exactly homegrown, but they at least know the guys that they want, how they're all going to fit together. It's been really good for them. I think they've done a brilliant job. And, I mean, why can't they be a championship roster? I know we mentioned the fact that they got swept by Boston last year, Dude, they pushed Boston like crazy in those 4 games. That was a weird series in which I believe they covered every single one of the 4. Maybe they didn't cover one of them. But there was a strong argument to be made that should have been a 2-0 series in favor of Indiana before you got to game 3. Like, that team was playing them pretty tight, especially when you look at some of the numbers in their half-court offense in that series. They were great. So I don't think, especially like, look at the way we're talking about Boston right now, right? They're down 2-0 to New York. Let's say they even come back in this series against the Knicks. We know they can be had. I would say that this is a team that is capable of at least winning a conference championship and maybe taking on whatever the West spits out, which at this point right now looks very likely that it is going to be the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Who finishes their career with more championships, Tatum or Gilgeous-Alexander?
I'll say Tatum just because it seems it's at least past the path of resistance in the Eastern Conference. Like, it's more likely that he can make a deeper run than Oklahoma City. Like, the West looks absolutely, again, jam-packed with teams that could be there for a while. Outside of OKC, we know what Denver is. We know what the Los Angeles Lakers can become because they have Luka Doncic, among some others. So just because of that, I'll use that as the cop-out. And I do think, look, I mean, the Celtics, I think, can win a championship this year. He could have 2 by the time he's at the end of this year, and then all of a sudden, Shea's really playing catch-up in a really big way.
Okay, when it comes to the Thunder, JVT, I will admit that there's probably like a 25% chance I was wrong, and they may actually win the title. They may be the best team in basketball. I might be wrong about that. If they were to not finish the job, if they were not to win, why do you think that would happen? What would go wrong for them from here on out?
That they don't have a secondary scorer that they really trust, and Shea's asked to do almost everything, and that doesn't really work out in a postseason setting. You know, if you go back to last year, one of the guys that didn't really show up for them, Jalen Williams, was not very great, and he's supposed to be their second guy. So if that really kind of falls apart, Dustin, and they don't have anybody else to give Shea some kind of support when he's got such a large load on his shoulders, I think that's probably what ends up happening. And I think I told you guys this, regardless of what happens, whether you win every single game now moving forward, you know, you beat out the Denver Nuggets in 5, sweep whoever comes out of the other side of the bracket, and sweep the Boston Celtics or New York Knicks or Indiana Pacers in the NBA Finals, you call Giannis Antetokounmpo, or you call the Milwaukee Bucks this offseason, you try to make the Giannis thing work because you have all the assets. Like, this is the time. Now let's go and use them. But regardless, I think that's probably why they lose it. I think if they do, it's because the secondary piece behind Shea does not show up.
They're so good.
They are very good. They are very good, man. That game the other day, that's what you expected. Even game 1, game 1 was a weird one where that was a self-inflicted loss. They blow that game, obviously. I don't know why they start fouling as early as they do. That's on Dagnall. He knows that's the case. You don't foul when Jokic is off the floor, for crying out loud. And Chet misses some free throws that he should not miss. That's everything about the way they lost the other day was self-inflicted, and then you saw what that team was when they bounced back. Yeah. That was incredible.
But throw it away. Dagnall got killed after game 1. He is such a good coach. Just watch that team play basketball. If you watch basketball for any amount of time in your life and you watch Oklahoma City play, they're the best coach. That team is so well coached, it's insane. The assignments are there. The help defense is there. They are freaking a wagon. Dustin, I'm not picking on you. I'm just simply saying I watched them 3 times this season, and I know how good they are. That's all.
Yeah. And one of the 2 times I watched them was the game that JVT was talking about against Minnesota, where they blew that lead. It was on a back-to-back, though. We'll point that out. Look, they're awesome. And I can't stop thinking about the Giannis component that you mentioned, with all the assets of them potentially adding him along SGA. Like, we're talking, it could be 2, 3, 4 titles for them. I think they could be that special.
Oh yeah, dude. I kind of hope it happens. I just want it to happen.
But you're right though. That's why you get those picks. When a player like that becomes available, you go have all of them. You can have all of these picks.
Yeah, and we actually have some young pieces too that we can throw in there to have some fun too. Go ahead. We got some of these guys coming off the bench. You know, remember, I think this is the stupid part about this team. They still have, this name might not sound too familiar with folks. Remember, they still have Nikola Topic, the young kid who tore his ACL. He was their first-round pick. He was actually going to be in contention for being the first overall selection in last year's draft. But because of the knee injury, he slips all the way down to where they grab him. So they still have him among some other guys. This team's absolutely loaded and ready to go, dude. So, yeah, I think this is going to be great. And Topic by all accounts, he was going to be pretty special. He's 6'6" guard from Serbia. Like the guy is going to be really solid. So use him as a piece along with a lot of these assets, and let's go get it done.
I actually think the team that has the OKC conundrum is Houston
Yep.
because I think they're trying to follow that model, but they don't have a Gilgeous-Alexander. So that's a team that eventually has to start giving up on some of these assets and make a move because you see what I'm saying with the corollary with Houston and Oklahoma.
You sure they don't have a Shea though?
100%.
Jalen Green?
I think Amen Thompson might be pretty special.
Oh, okay.
If he can develop, if his offense develops, you might be honest.
And when I say Shea, I just
thinks.
Yeah, no. When I say a Shea, I just mean like that franchise young cornerstone that like you're going to build around. Like I think that might be. I am not saying that Amen Thompson is Shea. What I mean is the guy that you are building your future around. I think Amen Thompson can be that.
No, that makes sense. And it does feel like the two teams we just listed, Oklahoma City and Houston, whoever doesn't get Giannis feels like they might be in the Kevin Durant conversation. Here's what I would say before you hammer Kevin Durant, because he's old and everywhere he goes loses and all that. Could you imagine if he fulfills the prophecy, goes back to Oklahoma City in the end and wins the title at 37, 38 years old as the second piece along SGA? Like, wouldn't that be like a perfect full circle story for KD?
Yes. Sorry to interrupt one thing really quickly. It looks like Anthony Edwards has hurt his leg and is being helped back to the locker room. Can't put any weight on his left ankle. Good. So that's going to be something to watch there. Well, here's the thing. The Rockets have publicly said that Kevin Durant does not match their timeline. So it sounds like they're not going to do that. And if they're going to do something, it would be get a Giannis type that is a little bit younger, skews more toward what they're going to play for, and be that type of player. I actually don't know if there's that big of a market out there for Kevin Durant. I mean, the team to watch, unfortunately, is the Clippers.
Oh, no.
I mean, like, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but it's a long in the tooth team that doesn't really have that many assets at all. Kevin Durant ain't worth like a ton, and you're going to have to pay him. Like, if there was a team that was going to do it and an owner that was going to do it, it would be the Clippers.
Are you trading Norm Powell or James Harden? And who does Jonathan Vaughn, general manager, prefer they trade in that deal?
Oh, I mean, I don't really care. It would be a nightmare regardless. I mean, you could trade whoever you want.
I can't even imagine a team. I can't even imagine a team wanting Durant.
I mean, like, I think Dustin's right in that I think a lot of people I don't think he gets enough credit for what he just did this year. He was solid this year for a team that stunk and a franchise that is a nightmare. He wasn't loud. He wasn't noisy. He did his job. But he's just not worth it at this point when you're talking about how much you have to pay him, the length of his career, his potential availability, all those sort of things. You know, he's going to be attractive to a team like the Clippers, who are desperate for some sort of thing. Obviously, the other part we should mention, just open up a new building, want to continue to get people into those stands. And how do you do that? But you can get a Kevin Durant. Like, think about all of the marketing you could do and all of the signs. You can see all the signs now with Kawhi, James Harden, and Kevin Durant all standing together. You know what I mean? Like, you could see it, and it would totally make some sense.
By the way, you said it. Good job by you. It doesn't look good with the Anthony Edwards ankle.
No. He got landed on. Someone stepped on his foot as he was coming down from making a play in the air, and then he ended up limping off. But he was in a lot of pain. He was holding his leg on the ground for a while and then walked very slowly to the locker room. So as soon as we see an update, we'll let the audience know. But, yeah, he was helped off the court. That is not a good sign.
37-20, 17-point lead for Minnesota with Anthony Edwards. They just showed him in the tunnel limping back. I don't think we're going to see him the rest of the evening. Before we say goodbye, 2 games tomorrow. Cleveland's laying 2.5, 3. Should they be with the questions we brought up about the injuries?
No, like if they're not going to have those guys, then that's Indiana should be favored. I think there's a question to be, or I think there's an argument to be made that Indiana should be favored regardless. Now remember, home court has not been as strong this postseason. I know everybody's freaking out about these underdogs winning outright. I wrote an article about this up on the website at VSiN.com just the other day. Home teams in the postseason, road teams in the postseason heading into tonight, I believe 26, 22-1, somewhere in that range. Against the number, they have been absolutely fantastic away from home. Home court has not mattered in any way, shape, or form in this postseason at all. Right now, since 2017, it would be the lowest average net rating for home teams in the postseason right now. So you factor all of that in. Maybe you make the argument that Cleveland's a small favorite just because you expect them to be better, but I still don't think they're better even if you were to remove the facilities of home court from the number.
Man, I mean, I want that series to have some juice. I want that series.
Oh, it stinks, man.
If Cleveland's going to go down, I want them to go down at 100%. As a Knicks fan who watched the Knicks fall apart because of injuries last year down the stretch, if you're going to lose, you want to lose because you were the worst team, not because of injuries. Like, that is just such a brutal blow. However, is it fair to say Donovan Mitchell, who's a guy who got scrutinized, the questions of whether he was a 1 or not, I think he's kind of answered all those questions at this point. He's a legit number 1, right?
Oh yeah, dude, my man's showing out. Like, he's been great. He's been really fighting hard. And I was wildly impressed with him in that game for the most part in game 2. Like, he took it on his shoulders. It was like, I've got to be the guy. Like, again, a usage rate of over 50% is absolutely insane when you really think about it in a postseason contest. And he took it on himself and he put them in position to potentially win the game. They completely blew it, but he's been absolutely tremendous, man. I don't think there's really any doubt. It's been very impressive.
Speaking of writing, you can go check out Jonathan's writing over at VSiN.com. I noticed with your new gig, you're writing more than Stephen King, huh? Good job by you.
Yeah, writing more. So that's going to be a fun part of it. I'm going to have a piece up on Tuesdays, Monday night, Tuesday morning. So make sure you keep an eye out for that. I will have a much bigger hand in the NFL betting guide this summer. So that'll be cool to have out there as well. So yeah, make sure you check it out.
Jonathan Von Shakespeare over at VSiN.com. You can check him out. Jonathan Von Tobel, VSiN host. All kidding aside, it's a great start to the program with he and Stormy. Money Moves, Monday through Friday, noon to 2 p.m. Eastern time. And you can find Jonathan at MeJVT on Twitter. Anything else you want to say before we say goodbye?
I saw the new Marvel movie. Thunderbolts was great.
Thunderbolts. Who's in it? Aquaman?
No. Thunderbolts is the team led by the late Black Widow's sister, Yelena Belova, I think is her name in the universe. Whatever. Florence Pugh is the actress that leads the way. U.S. agent, obviously the man who used to be Captain America, but then had to retire the shield in shame after killing a terrorist in the events of the Falcon and the Winter Soldier. Speaking of the Winter Soldier, also part of that, the Red Guardian, formerly the aforementioned named White Widow, as we just talked about, Yelena, her father, among some others. It's a very good ragtag group of guys and gals. Lots of themes of depression and suicide, and actually a really good and touching movie. Yeah, it was great.
Oh, Thunderbolts. Patrick's not a fan of Thunderbolts.
No, I didn't say anything. I was just going to ask, if I were to start with a Marvel movie, which one should I?
In all legitimate, so if I'm really answering that question, not even from a timeline,
earnestly,
not from like even a timeline standpoint or whatever it is.
Oh yeah,
who cares about that? But this is at the very beginning of the timeline. I would either say the Hulk with Edward Norton or Iron Man, like the first Iron Man. I think those are two very good films. Yeah.
I think he's right. I think Iron Man, you watch in the order they came out, not in the order of the timeline of the Marvel Universe.
Well, that's the order they came out. I mean?
No, because Winter Soldier Oh,
you're talking about like all within the context of all the movies. Yeah.
In the context of the movies.
Yeah, just watch
in order of in order of release date, not in order of the storyline.
Yeah, but watch one of those two. I would say if you genuinely want to like try and like see if you like them. I actually think the Edward Norton Hulk movie, it came out in like 2008. That was like a legitimately good movie, and Edward Norton's a good actor, so I think you would enjoy it.
All right, I'm wrapping up tonight my second viewing of the John Adams series on HBO. I think I'm going to try to dive into Marvel after that, boys.
You a Star Wars guy?
I mean, I've seen. I'm born in '78, so I saw the first or the last three.
Okay, just curious.
I've never seen any beyond.
So you never saw like the prequel series that started in the '90s?
No.
Those are good. Those are good.
They're
I heard they were terrible.
The prequel ones are good. The new ones that came out like within the last 10 years are not very good.
Yeah, the most recent 3. However, Paul Giamatti as John Adams is way better than Mark Hamill as Luke Skywalker.
Oh, Giamatti as Adams is off the charts. But
I got to watch that. That sounds actually kind of interesting.
It's tremendous.
It's really well done.
We'll update you on Anthony Edwards' injury when we come back. Jonathan Von Tobel, thank you for the time. Appreciate you.
Good to talk to you guys. Thank you.
Okay, thank
There
you.
you
VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. We're back.
Covering the spread all night long. This is VSiN Live on Mad Dog Sports Radio. Here's Patrick Meagher and Dustin Swedelson.
Okay, the Stanley Cup playoffs are on SiriusXM. Listen to Game 2, Eastern Conference. By the way, empty net for Carolina right now. Washington, a minute to go, up 2-1, and they just played it an empty netter, Tom Wilson. So 3-1. You cashed the 145-ish, 150-ish. If you tailed us on that one, I don't think that's anything to flex about because that was just a crazy price. So then 9:30 Eastern time, which is about to get underway, the puck drops in Game 2 of the Western Conference semifinals between the Oilers and Golden Knights. Listen to all the fast-paced action on SiriusXM NHL Network Radio, channel 91 in the car and on the SiriusXM app. So developing situation in Minnesota, already down Steph in the series. Looks like Anthony Edwards has a pretty serious ankle injury. Had to be helped off the court. Draymond, pretending to be a good guy, went over there to like pick him up just because Draymond had to be like the whole entire Minnesota medical staff and team was there supporting Anthony Edwards. Draymond got into it and like lifted him up. It's like zip it. Draymond has 5 technicals, 2 more technicals. It's a game suspension for him.
It's a weird thing to be in right now, where you and I were very aligned for a long time, where we defended Russell Westbrook and we defended Draymond
I'm out
Green.
on both. I'm out.
I'm not. I don't think as any sane person could defend either of them right now. I am seeing on Twitter this guy, Dr. Evan Jeffries. He does do a good job with injuries. I've seen him do a lot of diagnosis in the past, like in the moment. He just tweeted out 2 minutes ago, Edwards injured his left ankle on this play. The worry would be for possible 1, high ankle sprain based on force aversion, 2, ankle fracture, needs to be ruled out with an x-ray. So obviously either one would be devastating for Minnesota.
Well, the injury happened. He was holding onto his high ankle. My assumption
for a while.
is the high ankle sprain, but we shall see. That will then, if Steph, how would I say this?
Yeah.
If Steph in any way was going to come back, he's more likely to come back now, I guess is the best way to put it. Maybe that doesn't make a ton of sense.
No, it does even things up, where if Golden State can hold water and just be down a game or two whenever Steph does return, all of a sudden he becomes the X factor and puts them over the top. I mean, that's the reality. If Minnesota doesn't have Anthony Edwards, they do not have someone creating on the perimeter the way he can outside of him. He's the only one who will drive to the basket and make things happen. Players converge, and that opens up all those other looks for everyone else.
The T-Wolves are up 17 at the break, so no surprise there. It's a final in D.C. Rock the Red as the Caps. That's an under series as well. We talked about that. A 3-1 winner for Washington at home to even up the series at ones. And we have yet to puck drop in Vegas with
I have a question.
Oilers leading 1-0.
That game is about to come up in 6 minutes. VGK was horrible in game 1. They're laying 135. Edmonton, based on all the conversations we've had with everyone on the show, Edmonton's loaded, and I don't know if VGK can hang. Would you take that plus price with the Oilers on the road, or do you think VGK bounces back similar to what Washington just did today?
I would never lay the price with Vegas as how they're playing right now. What I would do, they dropped the total down from 7 to 6.5. I would wait a couple of minutes into the game, see if you can steal a couple of minutes and get a total of 6 and go over.
Okay. I like it. They're showing a play where Edwards tripped, but it looked like it was from the series.
Oh, that might be a broken ankle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He's holding it high in like the shin area too.
Ooh, he heard it twice, so he got rolled up on. Then he got stepped on. That at very least, that's a high ankle strain. The way he's holding it there, it could be broken.
Yeah,
the way he's walking off. Oof. I'll put it this way: he's not playing tonight, and I can almost guarantee he's not playing in Game 3.
Yeah, I don't think he's playing in Game 3 either, it's just interesting what Steph Curry is to the line. You take him out. Then what Anthony Edwards is to the line, you take him out. Like, I don't even know what that number's going to look like when they post it.
I mean, it's bad news all the way around. You just lost the 2 best players in the series.
Well, you lost that. Then you lost the 3 players in the Cleveland series. Then if we want to look at the Knicks and the Celtics, the Porzingis thing is weird. Can we acknowledge, like, this guy has had some sort of weird illness for months now? It's actually kind of scary that they haven't been able to pinpoint it. They haven't been really open
not that
about
scared.
Something's going on with him, though. He's not been healthy for months.
I mean, he has played though, correct?
Yeah, but he's not able to. He's having respiratory issues. He's not breathing right. Like, whatever this
is. Is that what they're saying? Respiratory?
I think that's what people are alluding to, but I don't think the Celtics have really divulged a lot of information about it.
Yeah, I mean, you hope he's okay. They should still be able to. Porzingis is, you know what? We were talking about it earlier. He is an X factor for them. So certainly against OKC, they would need him. put it that way. And the appearance are going to need him against the Knicks moving forward too.
Yeah, I'm looking at that plus the plus 1.5 games minus 170, and why I'm not just like putting a lot of money on that. I hate laying a price like that, but I don't see a world where Boston doesn't cover 1.5 games.
Oh, they just showed what Draymond got teed up for. Draymond did the thing where he literally pretended to flop and took his elbow directly into the temple of Naz Reid.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's a freaking dangerous human.
Yeah, I don't understand.
He might be a really bad guy.
I don't understand the motivation for that play.
He wants to hurt people.
Yeah, other than hurt Naz Reid. It wasn't a basketball play. It was a preposterous thing to do.
No, he just has a lot of anger. He just has a lot of anger.
But especially just as a competitor in a situation where they don't have Steph Curry and they can't afford to lose just a body and they need some extra offense, to waste a possession because you're flailing your elbows to hit another play in their head is just stupid.
I don't think he's of sound capacity.
He's not.
That's what I would say. Like, I understand. I agree with your sentiment, but I don't think he's thinking in that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, that he just did the thing that he always does. Pretends to flail, whether it be arm or leg, and then literally attacks the human's head with the sharpest part of his body, his elbow.
The most offensive part of this whole thing is he's the worst actor in the history of acting. I've never seen anyone do that over and over again and it look like he is flopping. The whole goal of that is to make it seem natural and real. You can tell from the beginning of the play that Draymond is going to try and draw something.
He's something.
Isaiah says right now they're saying it's a sprained left ankle, questionable to return for Anthony Edwards. Thank you, Isaiah.
Can I get odds on the chances of him playing tonight? Because I'll lay like $1 billion to win $1 that he's not.
Well, they're not going to blow this lead. They're up 17, right? They're up 17. Is there a way to bet on that? I imagine his point props is off the board. With him off the floor, who does the scoring for them? Maybe you look at Randall. That's the only thing I'd look at.
Yeah, Randall can pick up the slack. All right, so we do have a Caps win to tie up that series at 1s. We are about to drop the puck with the Oilers at VGK. The Oilers leading and dominated in game 1, 1-0 in that series, and a 17-point lead for the T-Wolves hosting the Warriors in game 2. T-Wolves trailing 0-1 in that series. The Anthony Edwards conversation is going to dominate the rest of this game, and tonight into tomorrow, we'll find out will he or won't he. When we come back, one of my childhood legends has just passed away. It's VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio.
up today's show. You see what I did there? Yeah. By finishing all of the conversations we touched on today. This is Closing Tabs.
All right, closing tabs here, VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Just quickly, a shout out. I mentioned one of my childhood heroes has passed away. Chet Lemon, World Series champ, three-time All-Star, has passed away at the age of 70. Chet Lemon was not a good. Chet Lemon was a great center fielder in that vast outfield at the original Tiger Stadium back in the day. He used to go to that stadium and that park and sit out there in the bleachers up in center and just stare at Chet Lemon. Unfortunately, he's passed way too soon at the age of 70. As we welcome you back, it's Zippy Edmonton and VGK. The Caps pick up a win to tie the series, and we are still at the break in Minneapolis. The Timberwolves lead 56-39, but the huge story there will be Anthony Edwards. What's going on? How severe is the ankle injury? Let's close some tabs before we get out of here, big guy.
Yeah, finishing up conversations that happened during the show with some that did not happen. You were not aware of this, but during the Jonathan Von Tobel segment, we almost had an intruder in the studio. Next door to me there's a show going on by Nikki Glazer, the comedian, who I am a fan of. She was awesome on whatever that award show was a couple months ago where she just murdered everyone. It was hilarious. But she's doing her show for SiriusXM here. She was saying goodbye to her guests, and she turned and thought she was in front of her studio and started to walk in the door. And then I saw her eyes just get big and see me and go, I was not aware there was a 300-pound man in my studio and realized she was in the wrong room.
So you kind of just a random flex that you saw Nikki Glazer? Is that what the moral of the story is?
I'm also fanboying. She was interviewing two
who
women.
cares about Nikki freaking Glazer?
She was interviewing two women. I don't know who they were. They must have been famous if they were on her show. They were 12 months pregnant, and they still looked gorgeous. So credit to those women.
They must have been famous if they were on. Is Nikki Glazer famous?
I think so.
What does famous mean?
People know who she is.
I guess I
Do you know who I was talking about when I said her name?
I've heard of Nikki. Yeah, I've heard the name.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm not even trying to be disrespectful. I just don't care about her.
Okay. Do you care about the Pope? Do you care about the Pope? You're not a religious guy.
Who doesn't care about the Pope?
Okay. Well, we got Pope Leo the 14th, and he's American. I don't know about you. When I heard that, I didn't even know Americans were eligible to be the Pope.
I know. I honestly heard that he was American, and I thought you had to be like Italian.
Look, I'm Jewish, but that feels like a big downgrade for Catholicism, if I'm being fair about the religion. Big
dude
downgrade.
Yeah. We got a guy from Illinois. Ever heard of Rome?
And he went to Villanova or something like that. That's so weird.
He loves Jay Wright.
yeah. The Chris Jenkins shot makes a lot more sense now, though. Only God can make that happen. However, there was betting on the Pope, and John Ewing from BetMGM tweeted this out that Robert Francis Prevost, USA, was 50-1 to be the next pope. 19% of bets were on Pietro Parolin to be the pope. And when you look at the bets, two betting sites posted that someone wagered $1,000 to land 63 grand. Another one bet 526 to win 52,000 on Pope Robert Francis Prevost being the next pope. Big cashing in day if you bet on the Pope.
What's the Pope even do? That's a legitimate question.
I think the whole point is he works in the shadows. I know he covers up things that happen to children. I know that.
You think the Pope ever orders Uber Eats?
Is he allowed on the internet?
That's what I'm saying. Is he even a person? What? It seems so, puppeteering type of situation. I know nothing about it.
Wait.
I just saw it was an American, and I thought that seemed kind of whack.
Yeah. Do popes retire?
I love America. I'm just saying.
Do popes retire, or is that a job you take till you die?
Oh, yeah, no, you take it. My man was hobbling around. You think he couldn't even stand up, and he was just grinding. He was poping to the end.
Live
Isaiah,
for God till you see God.
Isaiah, thank you. We'll see you tomorrow. VSiN Live, Mad Dog Sports Radio. Pope gonna pope.